everywhere. How did this happen? The officer shows up. He gives me a warning and his phone number. I was born in Rome, Georgia. I am from Summerville, Georgia, which is a very small town up in northwest Georgia. Everybody knows everybody. They know your business before you know your business. It's like that type of environment. I always was this child that had a larger than life, vision. In the 5th grade, I thought I would grow up and go to Nashville and become a country music singer. And so, it was just like, you couldn't put me in a box. I was never meant to fit in someone's box. And I think because I was that way, you either loved me or you couldn't stand me, because I was just this huge personality with a lot of energy and a lot of love and a lot of words. And I think a lot of people that drove crazy. You couldn't tell me what to do. Who wants to follow the rules, right? Like, they're stupid. And so I just didn't want to be contained. I wanted to be free. And I think because of that, it drove my parents. My dad loved that about me, but it made it really hard on my mom because she was raising 4 kids. And, she was raised in that era. You have to have order. Well, I wasn't going to keep the order. Just wasn't in me to do that. And then as I got older, my parents got divorced when I was 14 years old. And so when that happened, that was it. It wrecked my entire life. And my dad moved out, and my older sister went and lived with him, and I stayed with my mom. Even though I did have a closer relationship with my dad, I chose to stay there because I was at an age where, puberty and all the things. And so I stayed with my mom, and I felt abandoned by my dad, and he was hurt that I did not come and live with him. And so he then kind of put my older sister up on this pedestal, and, because she chose to go live with him and I did not. And so it left me with this emptiness and this void. And here I am, 13 years old, and my entire life has fallen apart. And he's gone, and I can't stand the thought to even go really spend time with him because I'm hurt, and he's hurt, and my mom's hurt, and all these adults have all these big feelings, but I feel like they never stopped to ask us, are you okay? How are you handling this? And so I was really kind of dying on the inside as a 13-year-old girl, and no one recognized it. So I learned how to be 2 different people at all times. And that was the person that I'm presenting myself to you, who has it all together and I'm all the things. But on the inside, I was this hurting little girl that felt like she had been abandoned by everyone. And I grew up in a very religious church home. And not only did I feel like I was abandoned by my parents, but I felt like I had been abandoned by this God that I grew up believing in. And so I became shut down. I was angry, and I started to search for something to fill that void. And so initially it was boys, because I'm looking to fill this void of my father not being there, and I'm boy crazy. So I start getting involved with boys at a very young age, and I got into this relationship in high school with this one guy, and we dated off and on for 2.5 years. And then he ended up cheating on me on this vacation, this senior trip that he went on. He wasn't even a senior, but he went on it. So I had heard that this had happened. So
what's his name? He's probably still paying for this.
Well, his name is Stephen Parker. I don't
Poor
know what
Stephen.
I know.
Stephen's gonna be like, she's still talking about this.
Right. Well, I should be. So so I hear about it, right? And so I call the girl that he did it with, and I asked her first. I gave her the opportunity to be honest with me, and I was like, listen, I heard that y'all slept together on this trip, and I just want to know, is it true? And I was like, I know you have a boyfriend, and if it's true, I just want you to be honest with me. But if I find out you're lying, I know that you had sex with your best friend's fiance also on this trip. And this girl was like crazy. She did not give a shit about anything. So I was like, I'm telling her, if I find out you're lying to me, she lies. Tells me she didn't do it. So I leave it there because I don't have the evidence.
Right.
So
I'm assuming Steven's saying,
of course he's denying it. I love you. You're everything. And so my best friend at the time, comes to me like a month and a half later, and she's like, I just need to talk to you. And I was like, okay. And so we're at my mom's house, and she starts crying. And she says, do you remember when we were discussing whether or not Steven had slept with somebody on this trip? And I was like, yes. I'm thinking she's about to tell me it was her because she's crying in such a way. I'm like, this bitch is about to tell me she slept with him. So she was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to cause you hurt or like pain, but it's eating me up inside. And Steven slept with April on the trip.
April's the other chick?
The girl.
Yeah, which you already know.
Yes. So I start crying, and he's at the movie theaters at the time seeing Fast and Furious. So that's how long ago all of this was. Now I'm telling my age. So he's at the movie theater, and I go out there, and I'm crying, and my mom is like, what happened? And I was like, Steven cheated on me with April. He's at the movie theaters. Can we go over there? Because now we live in Rome. We're not in Somerville anymore. Can we go over there so I can confront him? And Mom was like totally on the fence. I could tell she didn't want me to go, but she saw the state that I was in. So she said we could go.
She's a woman. She still likes drama.
So she's like, you can go, but Rhiannon, you need to drive. So we get over there. I go to the movie theater ticket counter, and I'm like, a family emergency has occurred, and I'm clearly in disarray, so they're going to believe it. And I was like, I need to go get this person out of this movie theater. So they let me in. So I go and I pull him. The screen is just...
Oh, I thought he was in there with another girl.
Oh, no. Okay. No, it'd have been a totally different outcome probably if that were the case. So I pull him. We're in the hallway, like down, walking out towards the movie, out the exit. And I'm just going in on him about it. And like, he starts crying. He admits it. And I was like, I am going to get her. And I left it at that. So.
Did you break up with him?
No, not in that moment. So.
Because it's not his fault. It's her fault.
And that's how I felt about it in the moment. And we may have broke up. I can't remember if we broke up in that moment or not, but I don't think that we did. So we leave there and we go home. And now, mind you, I am a junior. Am I junior? Yes, I'm going into my junior year of high school. So I'm on the competition squad up in Chattooga County. Even though I live in Rome, I'm driving because my mom had moved to Rome after the divorce, and I'm just commuting back and forth. So I'm on the competition cheer squad for Chattooga High School. And Rhiannon has just graduated. She was on that cheer squad also. So Rhiannon, April, everybody in this story, they're all graduated. I'm the only one that's still in high school at this point. So I call Melissa, who was the one that originally had told me the story. Mm-hmm. And I tell her that I found out it was true.
I have two sources.
Yes. So I then call her, and she was like, call Allison. Allison is the one that was the boyfriend, the fiance situation, her best friend, April's best friend. So I call Allison, and we're all on three-way, and Melissa's muted, and she's like, hello. And I said, hey, this is Jennifer. Where are you? And she wouldn't tell me where she was. And I was like, well, I have something that I need to tell you. And so she was like, oh my God, it better not be anything about Matt. I swear to God, I will beat the shit out of somebody if it was. And I was like, okay, well, it is. And April slept with Matt on senior trip, and she goes berserk. She's like, she's in the back room right now with Rhiannon, who is my friend that's sitting next to me, just recently ex-fiance. So now the plot gets even thicker. So she's like, I'm going to kill this bitch and this, that, and the third. And so I was like, okay, well, don't do anything yet because I want some answers.
I want to be there to see it.
I need answers. And so we all made this plan to go to Allison's house in the morning to question her. So my mom thinks that I have cheer practice because it's like camp week that week. So Rhiannon and I get in the car. My younger brother is with me because I'm babysitting him. So he's going to sit in the gym while I have practice. So we go to Allison's house. And Allison lives with her mom and her younger brother. So my little brother goes in. He's in there playing Pokemon with her little brother. He don't even know what's going on. We all go outside, and I confront April. And I'm like, I heard you slept with him. You lied to me, and he admitted it, and da-da-da-da. And so I was never like a big fighter. I was more like, I'll talk shit all day, but not violence, because I had experienced violence, I feel like, growing up my entire life, and I just wasn't my thing. So, but they're like behind me, like encouraging me to hit her. And so I ended up punching her in the face, and she just sat there. And she didn't like hit me back. And so then I hit her one more time, and she didn't hit me back. And I was like, I just can't do this. It just didn't feel right, because there was no like, it's like I was just spotting myself at that point. And so.
Did she admit that she slept with him?
Yes.
Okay.
She did. So then Allison comes outside, and she starts telling that April had been sleeping with Rhiannon's just recent ex-fiance.
Right.
Rhiannon was the quiet type.
Ex-fiance?
Yeah, they had just split up.
Oh, okay.
So they were engaged, and they had just split up.
It's over then.
Yes, but still. I don't know if it was going on when it was still going on. I don't know what the situation was. But anyways, Rhiannon was the quiet type. Never got in trouble, super sweet, never got angry. And when I tell you she snapped, I've never seen anything like it in my life. She jumps up, and she goes over there, and she just starts pop, 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 pop. I'm talking wailing on this girl. And I'm like shocked, because I'd never seen anything like this before. I mean, we're in Somerville. It's a small town. You don't really get exposed to much up there. So she is beating the crap out of her. And then when she gets done, I mean, her jaws are just so swollen. And then Allison ends up hitting her twice. And so then April gets up, and she's like, says that she has to go to work. And she goes inside, and now Allison's mom sees her for the first time. And she's like, oh my God, what did y'all do? Like, y'all are all going to jail. You can't let her leave looking like this. And I'm like, at this time, I've never been in any real trouble. So I'm like, go to jail. I'm scared to death. So we leave there, and we drop Melissa off at home. And Rhiannon and I go to her parents' house, and we are scared to death the whole ride. Like, oh my God, we're going to go to jail. Like, what are we doing? So by the time we get home, we're on our way to home, right? And I pass my mom going down the road like this. And when she sees that it's me, she sits up, and she like points at me like she's been looking for me.
She already got the phone call.
No, she has not. She was looking for us because Jacob was with me.
Right.
And of course he didn't know what was going on, but so she calls up in Somerville for cheer camp, and we're not there, and she finds out that we've lied about cheer camp. So that's why she's mad. So we get there, and she is just going berserk on me over the fact that we lied, and I had her son, and where was he, and what were you doing? And she's just going, I'm talking ape shit crazy on me. And I was like, and finally, I just started like crying. I was like, you're mad and you don't even know what's happened. And she was like, and by this time, the story is circulating. From the time we had left there till the time I get to her house in Rome, it was probably a 2-hour like ride from all the stops we made. She was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, we beat April up, and she's in the hospital, and her jaw's wired shut, and the investigators are involved, and they said that
you don't know any of that.
And that's what we've heard, right?
Oh,
no,
okay.
We've heard. This is now the story that's circulating in that 2-hour period. Remember, it's Somerville, Georgia. News travels fast. I was like, and her mouth is wired shut, and the investigators involved, and they're about to arrest all of us, and it's this big ordeal. And she was like, what? How did this happen? And so when I told her all of that, she calmed down a little bit, because now she realizes, oh shit, this could be really bad. So Rhiannon leaves, She goes home. The investigator comes to the house. He questions me as he questioned everybody. And that was kind of the end of that in that moment. But my mom, because I lied, made me quit the cheer team. And that was like the one thing.
And that's why I got hooked on that.
Well, listen, that was the one thing that had me holding on to sanity because it was my outlet, right? It was
I feel like it was a loose hole.
Well, it was, but listen, that was my life. You just have to understand, like, that was my entire world. And so when I lost that, I had nothing. I had nothing to fill my time with. Like, you remember, we're in a small town. There's not much to do. My whole entire social circle and everything was that.
What happened with the deputy? Did you not get in trouble?
Oh, I'm going to get to that.
Okay.
So my mom, I quit the cheer team. And then they come and they press charges on me. They don't press charges on anybody, only on me, because I was the juvenile and her parents wanted money.
When you're buried in credit card and loan debt, it's human nature to put it off and say, I'll deal with this later. If that's you, here's a hidden fact that the debt strategy experts at Done With Debt shared with me. They discovered a little-known strategy that works in your favor to dramatically reduce or even erase your debt altogether. They aggressively engage everyone you owe money to in September, and here's why. They know which lenders and credit card companies are doing year-end accounting and need to cut deals. They even know which ones have year-end audits and need to get your debt off their books. That means you need to get started with Done With Debt now in September. Done With Debt accomplishes this without bankruptcy or new loans. In fact, most clients end up with more money in their pocket the first month. Get started now while you still have time. Go to donewithdebt.com and talk with one of their specialists for free. Visit donewithdebt.com. Once again, that's donewithdebt.com. Fall is here, and that means football, tailgates, and big comfort meals. But here's the thing. I don't want to spend hours in the kitchen after a long day. That's why I go with Omaha Steaks. The other night, I made their filet mignon. They were juicy, tender, and packed with flavor. I've also got their burgers and chicken wings in the freezer, and it's perfect for sitting down in front of the TV and watching a true crime documentary. It's easy, fast, and the quality is amazing. Omaha Steaks has it all. Steaks, burgers, chicken, pork, seafood, even desserts. Every bite is backed by their 100% guarantee, and you can taste the difference. Get fired up for fall grilling with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Red Hot sales event. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code INSIDE at checkout. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $35 off with promo code INSIDE at checkout. See site for details.
They couldn't go after the adult because all the other girls that were involved were over the age of 18. They didn't have shit.
Right.
And so her parents were after money. And I mean, they had charged me with like some serious charges, like aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, like all of this stuff. She got on the stand and said that she had passed out and that I was hitting her with a bat while she had passed out. Now, she never did get hit with a bat. Was she fucked up in her face? Yes, but it was not me that did it. I literally caused her no damage. But so they got me on the stand. They're laying out all these pictures about how terrible she looked and all this emotional pain I caused her and like the stress of it, and her smile will never be the same because of these stitches she had. I feel no remorse because I, number one, did not do that. And they asked me on the stand, I'll never forget it. They were like, don't you feel like distress over, all of this pain that you've caused? And I said, the emotional pain that she has caused me over all this, I will never get over that. So I was just, I was adamant. I was just defiant, and I am righteous in what I did, because, and I didn't cause all that. So that's more so where it was coming from. So anyways, I did not. It wasn't me. Yes, I played a role, but.
So did the other girls say that you hit her twice? She didn't fight back. Did the other girl?
They didn't even come. They weren't subpoenaed, nothing. because they had it out for me. And so the parents got a restitution of like $3,500 out of my parents. And I had to do 200 hours of community service.
That's
So
fine.
I did it at the nursing home. And the woman, when I told her the story, she ended up writing off all my hours because she was like, "You've suffered enough at this point. Like your whole life is over. You got nothing. You're coming out." She's like,
What are you talking about? You're a high school student. You're fine.
But my whole life was over. Everything that I had lived for in that moment, it was just gone. All I was a kid going to school, and I'm coming to the nursing home working with old people, which I did enjoy, by the way.
Why didn't you just move in with your dad? Let your dad put you back in the share camp.
He would not.
Okay.
He wouldn't.
Was that a discussion?
No, but at that point, it was like the situation between me and my dad, it was still it was just everything was broken. It was little broken pieces of my life at this point, and I'm just existing in all of them. So I go through all that, and then I ended up, joining an all-star cheer gym.
How much sympathy do you think people are going to have for the blonde-haired, blue-eyed white girl? that wasn't allowed to go to cheerleading anymore.
Listen, they don't have to have sympathy at all. I don't care if they sympathize.
I'm just saying. I'm just wondering. But go ahead.
Okay.
Because I feel my heart. I hear you.
No, you don't.
I feel for you.
You do not. I can see it in your eyes. Anyways, so I joined the All-Star Cheer Gym after that. So I do end up, and my dad helps pay for that after I had moved to another school. So I left this high school and I moved to a different high school because my mom was living in Rome and I just felt like I needed a fresh start. Like I just need to get away from all this. I need to get away from, because now I'm around all these, kids I grew up with, girls I grew up with. And mind you, we were all like getting drunk on the weekends. And so it wasn't just like, this one incident. Like we all would go on the weekends and spend the night at this one girl's house. Our parents all think that we're just going to spend the night time, right? We're all just hanging out. And it was all the athletes. But it wasn't that. We were going and getting wasted drunk every Friday night after the football games, and it was the cheerleaders, and it was the football players, and it was the basketball players, and it was the wrestlers, and it was like the crew of those people. And we're all going.
Should I have parents?
The parents were doing it with us.
Oh, okay.
And so we're literally doing that from 9th grade until I left my junior year. And so, here our parents think that, we're all just these great kids and we're sheltered. And all of that may have been true, but there was another layer going on. Like I got high for the first time on with her mother. She supplied it.
Right.
And so I'm living this life and I'm doing all these adult things, but I had never had I never even saw my parents drink. So I never had exposure to any of this kind of stuff, right? So I move schools. I go to Armurchie High School, and I immediately make friends with all the boys because they're the ones that are doing all the same stuff I was doing up at Chattooga High School, drinking on the weekends, hanging out, So I was like the girl that had the guy friends. Well, all the girls at this school hated that because they're all like the FCA and we vow to not have sex before marriage. And, it was like the clubs. And I'm like, fuck those clubs. All of that shit is not, y'all are all lying. Like, you can't tell me that you're being honest about any of this stuff. So at that point, it was over. I was the rebel without a cause. I was going to do what I wanted to do, and that was just it. So through all of this, I'm kind of raising myself a little bit at this point. Like my parents, they're doing their own thing. They've got younger kids that they're taking care of. And, I felt like I had been like really kind of raising myself since my parents got divorced because my mom went through this super depressed phase in her life, and it was dark and it was quiet and it was lonely, and our house went from this loud, boisterous house of 2 parents with 4 kids to just every other week it's just me and her. Mm-hmm. And she's not really coming out of her room because she's depressed. And so I'm at that age left to my own devices of like figuring out, who am I? And what does any of this mean? And so I lose my virginity in the 9th grade to a senior football player in high school. That's on a Friday. My mom wasn't at home. She was out of town. And by Monday morning, the whole school knows. And my older sister is telling on me, like, that I did that. And so, of course, my parents, they're like, oh, my God, what are you doing? And I deny it. But I was just, I'm headed down the path at this point, but nobody recognizes it because I was still presenting the representative of, I'm fine. Everything's fine. I'm fine. You're fine. We're all fine. That sort of mentality.
Right.
So I moved these schools. I become friends with all the guys. Everything's okay, but I just miss Chattooga High School. I miss that because my whole life was there. My friends, everything. So I decide I'm going to go back to Chattooga. I didn't make it long at Armurchie initially, a couple weeks. So I go back to Chattooga High School. I lasted a couple days, and I was like, I can't. It's not the same. They treated me different. Like, all my friends treated me different because I wasn't in the crew anymore. I got in trouble. The story of how I almost killed this girl, and everybody believed it, and it was all these things, right? So I ended up going back to Armurchie High School. And they have a Miss Armurchie pageant like a month later. I enter the pageant, and I win. So now I'm Miss Armurchie High School. All the girls there that really don't like me are pissed because
now they really don't like you.
Yeah, because they had all grown up with this dream of winning the Miss Armurchie pageant. Like they all were from there. They grew up in this. And so then here I come in, this outsider, and I win this pageant. And April's mom went so far as to call the school and try to get them to take my crown from me because of what happened with her daughter like a year and a half before that.
This is so small town drama.
It is. And so that happens. And so I am in the midst of all this. I'm working at this store in the mall called Claire's. And my best friend, Amber, she had just moved to this school also. So Amber came from Pepperell High School, which was just another small town outside of Rome. And she moved to Armurchie. And so she and I kind of became friends because we're both new people and kind of trying to figure out who we are in our way in this new school. So we had become friends. Well, in the midst of all of this time period, she had not shown up for school one time for like 2 or 3 days. And I'll never forget, she comes in one day, and I just happened to see her in the hallway. And I was like, oh, my God, like, where have you been? Her pupils are just highly enlarged. And she was like, oh, my gosh, girl, like, I tried meth. And I was like, what? Like, you tried meth? I was stunned. And I was mad. I was like, what are you thinking? So she goes about her way. She ends up getting her shit together and come back into school. And then, we all hung out anyway. So it just is what it was. So I'm working at this store in the mall, and there is this manager, and her name is Tracy. I have never met a woman like this before in my life. She was the craziest individual I have probably to this day encountered. She would think of like a Who from Whoville when you think of like how their hair was, like her bangs were like up to here, and she would have this ponytail like on the top of her head, and it would just be like going everywhere. And she was crazy. Like her whole energy, it was just like this. It was something I had never experienced. So I was like, me and Amber, we had this inside joke about her that, she was the Who from Whoville.
Right.
But because she was so crazy, it was like you couldn't help but just engage with her because you're like, what is it? Like, who are you? And so she was the assistant store manager. And she had started, there was these 3 women that would always come in. It was a mom and 2 daughters. And I noticed the pattern when I worked with Tracy of these women coming in, and then they would like kind of point stuff out, and then they would leave. And when we would close the store down at night, she would leave with like these bags of all of this like store merchandise. And it was like Hello Kitty stuff, like all of the stuff of Claire's at the time. So she ends up confiding in me at some point that she's trading that store merchandise for ice.
Right.
And so I'm like, so now I'm a little intrigued because Amber had obviously, told me that she had done ice before. And I was like totally like mad at her over that. Well, now I'm dealing with this woman, and there's just something about her that is intriguing to me. And now she's telling me that she's doing this. So I begin to become a little like curious about it. because she keeps talking to me about it as we're working on our shifts. And so then she tells me that, if you ever want to try it, I can get my guy from Atlanta that brings it here. You can come to my house one night, you can try it. And so she's just kind of planting the seed in me at that time. And so she has the guy come in from Atlanta that she's getting the drugs from. And he comes in and he's this super attractive, like buff, kind of 20-something-year-old white guy. And I'm like, shit, if he's doing it and he looks like that, it cannot be that bad, So, because I'm now at this point, my only thing to judge it is I know Amber's done it and now this woman, but she's just crazy anyway. So, you weren't going to base it off her. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try it. So Amber agrees to do it with me that night. So I get off work, we go to her house. My parents think I'm staying the night at Amber's house. Her parents think she's staying the night at my house. Mm-hmm. Well, we're over here at Tracy's house about to get high on ice. Yes.
What's going on?
The man from Atlanta, he shows up with it, and we're all in her little house, in this little...
What year is this?
2002.
Okay.
Had to be 2002. Yeah. So we go into this house. He busted out. And so here we are with the Who from Whoville.
17 years old.
17 years old, getting high on ice. Miss Armurchie High School, Miss Beauty Queen, former Miss Junior Sugar County, Junior Miss Sweetheart, all the things. And here I am with the Who from Whoville and Amber and the attractive guy from Atlanta getting high on ice on some tinfoil and an open pen cap. So we smoke it, and it was like an instant rush. Like, oh my God. It was like something I had never felt or experienced before. And then it made me have to go to the bathroom because it had my stomach tore up. So I'm in the bathroom on this woman's toilet for an hour, and Amber's sitting in the floor talking to me, and we're so geeked up out of our minds. We're just, talking. So we end up, once we're out of there, she turns this movie on for us to watch called Requiem of a Dream. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Okay, so here we are, geeked up out of our minds, watching this movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I started to feel like I'm in the movie because it was so much, it was crazy, So daylight rolls around. We have not slept, obviously. We leave. And I went and stopped by this guy's house that I was dating at the time. Very lightly dating, nothing serious. He was older. I had not slept with him or anything like that. It was still kind of new. He still lived at home with his parents. And his mom was leaving to go to church. She had never left us there by ourselves before. So he tried to force himself on me.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm fighting him off. And he's saying things like, I'm almost there. And I'm literally fighting him to get him off of me. So finally, I throw my shoulder over. I get him off of me. I run out of his house. I squeal out of there. I go to my best friend Andrew's house, who lives right down the street. Tell him what happened. He's like, I'm going to go kill him. And I was like, no, please don't. Mind you, I'm still high on these drugs.
You can't be talking to cops.
Oh my
at this
gosh.
point.
So I end up going home to my dad's house and staying there. And I laid in that bed, and 2 nights I did not sleep. So it scared me that time. I didn't do it again for a while. That was my first experience with it. Well, after that, I started talking to another friend of ours that I had met through Amber, through another girl named Brittany. And this girl, she lived in an area of Rome called Lindale, where it was obviously prevalent. Everybody was doing it over there. The adults that she grew up with or spent time around, they were all doing it. And so then I went and tried it again with her. And after that, I was hooked. So it was I was truly living this double life. I was going to school, I was cheering, but I'm high every day. I had gotten these brown contacts, and I would put the brown contacts in so that you couldn't see how dilated my pupils were because they were massively big. And no one knew. No one knew. So here I am living this double life. I've lost all this weight. And that was another thing for me, is that I was always very weight conscious, because I used to get made fun of about my weight when I was younger. And my older sister, she was like petite and slim, and I was always very curvy. And like, I remember this guy in high school, like touching me on my ribs right here, and was like, if only you were this thin all the way down your body, like you would be a 10. Then this kid in the like 5th grade, my maiden name is Bowman. He like nicknamed me Big Butt Bowman. And it was like, this stuff like followed me.
Right.
And I really had a weight complex. And so the drugs made me skinny. And that was all it took for me. You know, I felt accepted in this group of people where I hadn't felt accepted most of my life, because I didn't fit into the mold of who society says you should be. And so here I am, I'm high on meth, I'm going to school, you know, my parents have no idea what's going on. They see that I'm losing this weight. You know, people will ask me here and there, like, you know, how are you losing this weight? I tell them I was taking Yellow Jackets from the gas station. Do you know what Yellow Jackets are?
No.
So they were like these little pills that you used to buy at the gas station. They were like these caffeine speed pills, and they similar, honestly, kind of to the way that meth would make you feel. And so that's what I told everybody.
How are you paying for this?
I don't think we ever really had to pay for it, because we just knew where to go.
Because you're young, pretty girls.
Yeah, young, pretty girls. And, you know, the places that we went, they always had it. And if we ever did have to pay for it, it might be like $20 here and there. And I worked. I was still working in the mall, so I had my own money. So
what happens to what's the chick with the bangs?
Tracy?
I mean, at some point they do inventory.
No, she literally never got caught. Never.
Okay.
So, at least not while I was there. Now, I couldn't tell you where she is now or what happened to her, because I
Look
don't.
up Tracy.
I don't know her full name, or we would, because trust me, I'd love to know. But so all this is going on, and I am literally living this double life, like total double life. And then my education starts to slip, because now I'm staying up all night. I'm partying with all these older people that are far beyond high school, and I start not showing up to school, not turning in assignments. My parents still have no idea. So it wasn't until my attendance became an issue that my parents were called by the school. And so now they're like looking at everything like, okay, her grades are slipping, and they're like, if she don't get it together, you know, she may not graduate, because by now I'm a senior in high school. So
what about the cheering?
So I had gotten mono, and we had a national cheer competition that was down in Orlando, Florida, and I wasn't going to be able to go to that because I had gotten sick. The doctor said no activity, and they basically were like, no, if you don't come to this and we have to rework this whole routine, you're done. And I worked there also. So they fired me, they kicked me off the cheer team. And then from there, it was just on and popping, full on drugs all the time, which it kind of was anyways, but that just gave me more time to get high. And so here I am, you know, 60 days out from senior graduation, basically. And in the midst of all this, we also had fake IDs, Amber and I did. So we're going to these local little bars and these clubs in, you know, in Rome, Georgia, where everybody knows everybody. One night we went in there, and my weight training coach was in the bar. And he sees me, and he was my first period every morning. And so, like, he sees me, and he just kind of looks away, like he don't say anything. I don't know. I'm sure he's stunned. He doesn't know what to do or what thing. He didn't say anything. And I was a new student. You know, I wasn't like, I mean, I had been there at that point for 2 years, but he didn't know. You know, I don't think he probably didn't know what to do. So I probably didn't go to school the next morning, if I had to guess. Well, I went out to this club one night in Rome. It was called Sumo's. It was like this club that was above the Japanese steakhouse there. And I'm in there and I'm dancing, and, you know, I'm high. So, you know, I'm thin. I look good. I feel good. And I meet this guy. And this guy, I knew who he was because he was from Somerville. He had went to school with my older sister. And he was like, Oh, the it back then. You know, Mr. Professional Wrestler, like all the things, super attractive. So I see him. I know who he is. We start dancing and I tell him who I am. And he's like, oh my God, I cannot. Jennifer Bowman. Like, I remember you being this little chubby girl, you know, at your sister's birthday party. Now here I am, like full blown 18-year-old, you know, woman body, attractive. So we end up going home together with each other that night. We sit up and we just talk all night long. He don't know I'm geeked up, but I am. So I'm up all night. We talk. I end up getting a job at the restaurant that he bartended at. So I became a waitress there, and I am just full on at this point living a double life. Like, I am literally going to school. I'm getting high every day. I'm waitressing at night. Or at, you know, in the evenings and on the weekends. I'm making good money. My parents still are just oblivious to what's going on. So I ended up going and spending the night one night with Justin at our manager's house. And I had been up for that point for like weeks. I hadn't slept. I wasn't eating. I mean, I would be at work sometimes and I would be putting dishes away in like the dish bin, and my hands would like draw up like this because I was so like malnourished, and I would like grab my hand to release it. And so it was like, still nobody knew. Still nobody noticed. So I am spending the night with him, and I didn't have drugs. And so I am hallucinating a little bit because it's been so long since I've had sleep, and now I don't have anything to like keep me up, and I'm also not eating or drinking water or anything like I should. So we're in the bed and we start to sleep with each other. And in my mind, I'm hallucinating that we're walking up this hill backwards and he's like carrying me like this, but that we are still, you know, doing it, but I don't know what I'm thinking or what I'm seeing. And I say out loud to him, that's enough. You don't have to go any further. Cause I want him to stop walking up the hill. And he's like, what? And as soon as he said what, it snapped me out of it. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. What do I say? What do I say? What do I say? And so I was like, just keep going, just keep going. He don't think nothing about it, right? He doesn't bring it up. So then after we're done, we're laying on the bed and his head's this way and my head is this way. And right in front of me, I see this field of flowers and these two lion cubs. And they're just sitting there playing. And I looked straight up and I said, look! And he was like, what? And I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, what do I say? Every time he would talk, it would snap me out of like whatever this hallucination state that I was in. And I was like, okay, what do I say? And I just came up with the first thing that I could think of. And I said, so I started talking real slow. And I was like, oh my God. And he was like, what? I said, you're never going to believe this. I said, I'm so tired that I'm asleep, but it's like I'm still awake dreaming. And he just bought it. So we fall asleep. Well, he did ask me if I was high. And I was like, no, because his manager would smoke sometimes and sometimes I would smoke with him. Mm-hmm. So he knew that I did that, but he didn't know anything outside of that. So his alarm goes off that morning at 5 a.m. because he has to go home to wash his clothes for work because we're both working a double that day on a Sunday. So he wakes me up and his manager was like, dude, like she can literally stay here. She seems pretty out of it. Like she can sleep it off here, you know, till she gets up. And he was like, no, it's fine. She's good to drive. So I get in my car. I go down the street. I got all the windows down. I got the music blaring, and I'm going to the house where I go get high at. It's right up the street. I know they're going to be up because they're always up. So I turn right on the street, like the main road to get to where they live at. And all I remember is turning right. And then the next thing I know, my car like throws me up into the ceiling, which wakes me up because I'm going up over the curb, and I literally hit this privacy fence head on. And so I take this privacy fence up out of the ground. One of the poles comes through my windshield, caves my windshield in, can't find my phone. I'm so delirious and out of it. I don't know what to do. Can't get my door to open. And so I'm like blaring on the horn because there's these houses that are on the other side of that fence. And I can see that there's these people that they've heard what happened, and they're like in their like, den or whatever with the light on. And I'm like blaring the horn, like, help me or call somebody. So eventually they call the police, and I find my phone in the midst of all that, and I call Amber. So Amber and I are very much living this life together. And she was also in a relationship with a police officer at the time. So she's like living with him, and we're living this lifestyle, and he has no idea.
He has no idea. Okay.
No idea. So she's like, I heard on the scanner, they're on their way to you. So they get there, and the cop shines the light in my window, and he's like, ask me for my name. I tell him my name. He's like, where are you going so early in the morning? I could not remember. It was like I couldn't remember where I was going or what I was doing. Like, I didn't know. Like, I genuinely did not remember.
Well, you can't tell him the trap house.
Well, no, but I could have come up with something, but I didn't remember where I was going. And so I was like, shit, where am I going this early in the morning? I gave the best answer that I could come up with of what I would have been doing that early in the morning. And I was like, I'm going to get ready for school. And he was like, he started to write it. And he was like, you're going to school on a Sunday? And when he said that, it triggered. It was like, I remembered then what I was doing, where I was going. And I was like, oh, no. I was like, I'm sorry. I said, I'm actually going to my friend's house to wash my clothes for work because I got to work a double today. So he bends the car door and gets me out. And the ambulance is there. So they're checking me out in the back of the ambulance. And they're like, you may need to go get checked out. You probably have a concussion. And I was like, no, I just want to go home. So they put me in the back of the cop car because they're searching the car. And while I'm in the back of the car, I'm talking on the phone to Amber. I still have my phone in my hand. And she's like, you're about to go to jail. And I was like, for what? And she said, they found ice in your car. So
how does she know that?
Because I guess she heard it on the scanner. I don't know. I don't know if she heard it on the scanner or there was an officer that she was in conversation with that we both knew. So that worked for this department. So they come to me and tell me that I'm getting arrested for possession. So I go to the jail. And I'm literally like 105 pounds at this point, skinny.
And this is your car?
This is my car.
Okay.
So
I was thinking you can't blame it on anybody else.
No, and I didn't know it was in there. So, like, I did not know that there was anything in there. And so I get to the jail, and they book me in. I cry myself to sleep. I call, and I'm trying to get in touch with Brent, who was one of my best friends at the time. So this guy is a drug dealer. So we've met in the midst of all this. He and we hang out all the time. Like, literally, we were just friends. And so I call him to come and get me out. Cannot find him. And it's because he has passed out asleep somewhere because, he's been up the same amount of time like I was. And when you fall out, you fall out. So I couldn't get him on the phone. Amber couldn't get him on the phone. Of course, they gave me a bond that morning, and I had to call my mom. I had to call my parents, and I was like, I'm not calling my dad. I'm calling my mom. So I call Mom, and I'm like, hey. She's like, hey. And I was like, can you come get me? And she was like, well, where are you? I was so nonchalant. And I was like, well, I got into a wreck last night, and they found meth in my car. It was not mine, and they arrested me, and I'm at the jail. And she went quiet for a second, and she was like, I'll think about it, and hung up. So here in a little bit, her and my dad show up together.
So it's not like, so she had to think something's going, like did it, at that point she thought, now it makes sense.
Probably.
Now it makes sense.
Yeah, I'm sure at that point they were like, okay, yep.
We had our suspicions before.
That something was going on. Right. They never would have guessed that. And now they're hearing that it's, that I've gotten arrested for this drug, and they're like, okay.
Yeah.
So they, in the midst of all of that, her and my dad, who absolutely cannot stand each other since their divorce, show up at the jail together, united front. And they pull me into, the room with the glass, and they're like, we're not getting you out unless you go to Wynwood because you have a drug problem. Now, Wynwood is where crazy people go. It was not a drug rehab facility. And so I was like, Wynwood? I was like, I am not going to Wynwood where they take crazy people, and I do not have a drug problem. Like, I screamed it at the top of my lungs. And so the officer like comes in and like takes my arm and he like leads me out because they're like, we're not getting her out.
Yeah.
So I get into medical diagnostics and the lady's like, honey, she's like, if I were you, I would go to Wynwood. She said, at least there, they will treat you like a person. She said, here, you are just a number, and you are a very young, attractive girl. And she said, when you get to the back of this jail, someone's going to try to make you their bitch. And I just started crying because I'm like, oh my God, what does that even mean? I still have not experienced much in life. So they get me to the back of the jail. I'm so frail that I can't even pick my mattress up to get it up the stairs. Well, ironically, the woman that Tracy was trading the dope to from Claire's was in there as one of the runarounds that was helping in the jail. And she knew who I was because I had been over with them.
One of the orderlies?
Yes.
Yeah.
So she takes my mattress and carries it up and throws it up on my bed. And the person's room that they put me in was her daughter. Her older daughter. So I get in there and she's got like a line of something chopped up on the table, snorting it. So I'm like, my parents think I'm safer in here because they don't think there's drugs in here. Like, come on. So I am just mad because I know if I can get my dad on the phone, he'll come get me out because my mom was not budging. My mom is just no nonsense type person. But I always had a very close relationship with my dad. Like, I remember he used to say to me, you know, I'm just praying for you. And I was so angry at God. I said, don't pray for me. You can save that for somebody else because the God I grew up believing in abandoned me at 13 years old. Do not pray for me. And so I called Eddie and I was like, listen, I'll take a drug test. I'll make a deal with you. I will take a drug test. And if I fail that drug test, I'll go to Wynwood. But if I don't fail that drug test, y'all aren't making me go. And he was like, okay. So
you're going to fail the drug test.
I had a plan. I was a woman with a plan, okay? So they come and they get me out. It's not him that bonds me out. It's my mom. So now she's on the bond. So I go back to her house, and they are going to take me to the hospital to do a drug test on Monday afternoon after I get out of school because I'm going to high school the next day. I'm just business as usual. I'm on my cell phone talking to Amber, and we already had come up with the plan because by now we have found Brent. He has risen from the dead, and he's going to bring me a drink that's going to cleanse me and clean my urine while I'm at high school, and I'm going to go take this drug test because I'm not going to Wynwood, and that is just it. So me and Mom get into this big knockdown, drag-out argument in the morning because she knows I've been on the phone with Amber up and down all night, and they're blaming Amber. So they're, like, mad at Amber, like it's Amber's fault because they just don't want to accept the fact that I could have just chosen to do this terrible thing, right? So she takes my phone away from me, which even further infuriates me because I'm paying for that phone and y'all haven't been here. You have not been parenting me since y'all's divorce. So don't try to come in now parenting me. It is far too late for that. So here we go. We go to eat and then they're taking me to the hospital. So I am so skinny that I am able to wear I think she was 12, my 12-year-old sister's clothes. That's how thin I was. So we get to the hospital. I know because I'm 18, I can refuse them coming into the room because I know some things. You know, I've been hanging around some people, some criminals. So I know some things at this point. So we're all getting ready to walk back. And I said, I don't want them in the room. So they had to deny them coming in the room. So I get back there. I know I'm about to fail this drug test. Burn a hole in the cup, fail it. So there is a phone on the outside of the hospital room where I'm sitting, where they put me in. So I take the drug test. It is taking forever to come back. So I've called Amber and I've called Brent, and I have already let them know, listen, I'm not going to Wynwood. My mom is going to come off my bond, so you are going to have to come pick me up. And he's like, I'll get you out. Well, by this point, Amber, like, the story is unfolded because, you know, Amber's got inside intel from the police department, the sheriff's office. So my parents had been doing some digging and some research, and they had found out that my best friend Brent had also been arrested for ICE. and that they had the jail on high alert that if he came to bond me out, they were going to pop him a urine, and if he failed it, they were going to arrest him again. Like, they weren't going to let him get me out. So I failed the drug test. I go out to my parents, and I was like, well, I passed it. And they were like, well, we want to see the results.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I failed it for traces of ice.
Everybody has traces.
Yeah, like, I mean, what does that even mean, right? I just thought I was smarter than everybody, okay? So I think because I say traces, it's going to make it any better. So they're like, oh, my, they're just having a fit. It's my mom, it's my dad, my mom's sister is there, my older sister's there. It's like this family intervention. They're all trying to, like, make me realize, that they think I've lost it, like really lost it. And I never will forget, my dad is like, look at what you're doing to yourself. He grabbed my arm and his entire hand fit around my arm because I was so thin, but I wanted to be skinny because of the things that I had grown up being bullied for. And I was like, I look good like this, like I was just there in that mentality. And so they're coming off my bond because I am not going to Wynwood. So we get out to the car, and my dad is like, should we put her in the back seat in the middle so she doesn't jump out of the car? I'm like, jump out of a moving car? Like, they really thought that I had lost it. Like, they thought I was mental. And so they get me to the jail. My stepmom says, she whispers in my ear, and she was like, listen, I've been through something similar to this. You can go and get the help you need, and you can do this. And so in that moment, I decided that I would go to Wynwood. And I was like, okay, I'll go. And my mom was like, call me when you're serious. She just wasn't having it. So here they come. They drag me back into the jail, and I'm in the front. So, of course, I call Amber to tell Brent. And so a couple hours later, he doesn't come because now the word has already been spread that he can't show up.
Right.
So he sends the money with this older couple that we would get high with, and they came and bonded me out. My parents had that jail on such lockdown that when I got released, they knew that I got released, and they knew who signed the bond with the bondsman. So they ended up calling them, and, we're like, she needs help. Like, why did you get her out? We're trying to do the right thing, for her as her parents. And the couple was like, listen, she may need help and she may have a drug problem, but Floyd County Jail is not the place to rectify it. So I go to their house that night, and then I think Brent and I snorted a line that night. And then we left and we went, and I ended up falling asleep. Like, it just didn't do anything for me at that point because I was just in such stress. Like, my whole nervous system was just in chaos. So I ended up going home and going to my dad's house. So I make a story up. I just lie to everybody and tell them, I had been at this party, I had been doing it, I don't do it often, and all that kind of stuff. And so my oldest daughter, Madison, and her dad is the guy that I had met at the club. So we end up getting pregnant like 2 months later. And so we're in this relationship at this point. He buys the lie, whatever, and he's like, adamant, you cannot go back to doing drugs, da-da-da-da. So I get pregnant with Madison, and then he ends up joining the military and leaving early to go into the military. Well, because I'm pregnant, small town, the first words out of my dad's mouth when I tell him that, I'm pregnant is, when are y'all getting married? So after Madison was born, he and I ended up getting married because, it's the right thing to do. So we're married. Madison is a couple months old. And of course, I go back to doing drugs because it's what I knew. I wanted to lose the weight. All my friends are involved in that. And so I have to go to court on this charge, on the drug charge.
Right.
They dropped it to possession of drug-related objects, and I pled out first offender on that charge. They gave me 12 months unsupervised probation and a fine.
Unsupervised, so no drug test, nothing.
No. So I go
Doesn't
in.
even make sense.
Oh, well, it gets better. So I go in, I pay the fine. My grandfather writes the check for me to pay the fine. He has a conversation with me. If do you need help? If you're an addict, You can get the help you need. I was addicted to alcohol one time. I totally understand. And I was like, no, I'm fine. I don't need help. I'm not an addict. So I go in, I pay this fine to meet my probation officer one time, and she piss tests me. And I failed it. For ICE. I failed it for ICE. So after that, I leave. And of course, she calls me to tell me that I failed the drug test. Now, at this point, you cannot tell that I'm back on drugs. Like, I have figured out the hack. I haven't lost all this weight. I'm living down in Columbus, Georgia with this couple, this married couple. I'm working at their cheer gym. Justin's in training down there in ranger training. And so now I failed this drug test, and she's not sure what the judge is going to do. She revokes me. So I have to serve 60 days in county jail. Madison is 2 months old, 3 months old at this point, I think. And now I got to tell everybody that this has happened because I'm going to jail. And so I, of course, make the story up, went to a party, blamed it on a friend. I went to a party. I fucked up. I got high. I shouldn't have done it, whatever. So I had to go serve this time. They gave me a 2-for-1, so it was 30 days in county jail. So after that, I leave, and he has since been stationed in Washington State with the Army Ranger Battalion. So we're living in Washington State. I go out there. I get clean. My life is thriving. I'm running this all-star cheer gym. Our marriage is miserably failing. I'm 19 years old. He's 24. It's like he's a ranger in the Army. He's going out with all of his buddies. They're going to the strip club, getting, drunk, blowing our money and overdrawing our checking account, negative $730, not coming home at night. So it's like that type of thing going on, right? So I'm like, I cannot live like this. So I was out there for 8 months, totally clean, doing the right thing. Didn't think I'd ever go back to drugs, right? So I go back home for Easter, and I go and get high when I'm home because I just felt like I was missing out on life. It was like that was like happy for me. It was fun. It was exhilarating. And here I am in this terrible marriage, and we don't have money, and it's just all this stuff going on. And so I go home, I get high, and the drugs were different. It was not the type of drugs that I had done before, or maybe it was just that I had been clean long enough that it didn't affect me the same way that it normally would. And so I went home to my mom's house, and I was hallucinating that night. And it was like I was looking out the window all night long, and I had convinced myself that the police had followed me back from the guy's house that I had went and got high at, because the street light, it would come on and it would go off. And every time it would go off, I was convinced that the drug task force was like coming in every time that light would go off, right? I literally had seen that they had placed like all of these like mechanical animals out there, and they were up in them watching. I was like, oh my God, they have followed me. They were watching him. I knew they were watching him. I should have known better. So I am up all night long. I have developed this story in my mind. My mom comes in the room that morning, and she looks at me with this look. And I think she's looking at me because she's seen them out there, and she knows the jig is up. She's looking at me like that because she knows I went and got high.
Right.
But I'm like, oh my God, I went and got high last night. The drug task force, they were watching him, and they've been out there all morning. There are all these mechanical llamas, and they're set up, and they're about to run in on here. And I just need you to know what is happening.
Mechanical llamas?
She was like, yes. She lost her mind. She just looked at me, and she just shut the door. I was in such a state that my older sister was home because it was Easter, so she's home. I am so good at when I see something, I really do see it. And so I'm so good at describing it that I can make you see it too. Right. My older sister, who's totally sober, she's visiting, and I keep seeing that there's this man, and he's like posted up with his leg up on this log that's over there with this gun, like a long shotgun, and he's like posted up, just watching out like this. And I see it to such a T. I describe it to my older sister, and she sees it. So she then calls my mom, and she's like, Mom, Jennifer, she keeps saying all this stuff, and there's this man, and he's posted up with this gun, and she was like, and Mom, I see it too. And I was like, Haley, do you hear how crazy you sound? She is messed up on drugs. That is not real. And so that was like the first sign of trouble. Entering back.
Was it the first sign of trouble?
It was the newest first sign of trouble, entering back into my life. So I go back out to Washington, and I decide I am missing out on the world. I am leaving that life behind. So her dad and I were having major problems at that point. I had caught him cheating and all this stuff. And so I decided that I was moving back. His mother.
She sounds like he's the problem.
He was the problem. We were both the problem. I honestly was really trying to do the right thing in our marriage, but he really was like out blowing our money and cheating on me during that time. And I was like, fuck this. Like, if I could be living a whole good life over here, you know? So I come home, I go back, and I live with his mom. And his mom opens her home to me because she knows, like, he's got anger issues. He could be violent. Like, there were some things going on.
Well, you have a kid, too.
Yes,
right?
We have a child, her only grandchild. So she opens her home. I go back, and I'm living there. We're living with her. And I get a job, and I get my life together. But I'm dabbling now. I'm not getting high all the time, but I'm getting high. So I had went to this bar with a fake ID at Applebee's in Rome one night, and the waitress reported me that I had this fake ID. And so the police show up.
How old were you, 19, 20?
I would have been 20, I think, at the time.
Okay.
She just didn't like me is what it was. She knew who I was. She didn't like me. So she calls the police. So the police show up, and the officer...
You feel like everybody else is a problem here.
Listen, the officer...
Not the fact that you had a fake ID.
No, everybody had them. She had one. Come on. Everybody had them. And so the officer shows up. He gives me a warning and his phone number.
A warning?
Yes.
For a fake ID?
Yes. So me and the officer...
And his phone number.
And his phone number. So me and the officer start communicating with each other. And then we end up getting in a relationship with each other. And I really was like really into him because I just needed, what it really was is that I needed love. You know, I hadn't had that. And he showed me that. And I was enamored by him. Like, I was like, oh my gosh. And Justin's mom knew. She liked him. It was all this, but I was still getting high. He had no idea. So here I am living this double life. And he was playing some games in the beginning, like still dealing with this ex-girlfriend of his. And like, I was totally hurt by that. And so once I found like that information out, I was like, oh, it's on and popping for you. So like, if you want to play games, I'm going to play games back. So I, at that point, was still kind of, dabbling in my same circle of friends with drugs. Well, a drought was going on. Nobody could find anything. And so I went to this one friend's house who said he could find some. So he calls this guy, Dustin. Dustin shows up. He has it. We get high. We're up all night, singing karaoke, just having fun. And then that kicked off a friendship with he and I. Well, he was a drug dealer. I didn't know it at the time, but he was a drug dealer. So now I've formed this friendship with him, and now I'm back in the game. I'm getting high all the time.
It feels like you were in the game the whole time.
I wasn't.
I understand dabbling isn't in the game.
It wasn't, because I was only getting high. It wasn't an all the time thing. It was like a weekend thing that I would do. It wasn't like an everyday, I'm doing it all the time.
Okay.
So, and I was also working. So I was still functioning. I had not went full blown addict yet. Yes, I was addicted, but at that time I didn't realize really that I was addicted. It was just something that I enjoyed doing. And I felt like there was nothing wrong with it because I wasn't hurting anyone. I'm paying my bills. I'm taking care of my daughter. Who cares?
I hear you. I'm with you.
You don't hear me. Your face says you don't hear me. So I meet Dustin, and Dustin is a drug dealer. We hit it off. We're friends. He's different. He's young. He's younger than I am. So he was just like this different energy, his vibe. He was funny, he was fun. And so we become friends, and I lose my job at the telemarketing place in December. So I was working at a telemarketing place called Atco International, and it was cold calling. I had never cold called a day in my life. And the first day that I started, I'm literally practicing on the phone. They give me a script, they give me a binder, and they give me a list of phone numbers. And they're like, just start calling. I get a guy on the phone and I close the sale. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't even know how to close the deal. And so I'm like, okay. So he says yes. So I was like, oh, well, hang on a second. Let me go get my manager because I have no idea what to do next. I just started. So he starts laughing. So I put him on hold. I have to go bust up the manager's meeting and tell him I get a sale. And it's an telemarketing office. It's all women that work in there in Adairsville, Georgia. So they're country, they're loud, they're funny. They start screaming, they're celebrating. So I close this deal. So now I know I'm good at cold calling, right? So I'm doing this job, I'm doing great at it, and my addiction is just growing by the moment because now I'm in this environment where everybody is just totally amped up. Some of them are on drugs, and if they're not on drugs, they have been before. And they're like literally living off of caffeine and cigarettes. Like it's that type of boiler room environment.
But you said you just lost the job.
No, this was before I lost it.
Oh, okay.
So I have this job. I'm doing well. Well, they had this policy that on Fridays, once you hit your quota, you could go home if it was like on a holiday weekend. So I had called a friend of mine. If I ever wanted to like leave work early, I could always call him and he'd buy it. It was like degreaser, right, that we were selling. He was one of my drug friends. He probably has cases of that degreaser to this day he's never used because I would send him so much of it. So I call him, but he won't answer. I write up the order anyways. So I write the order up, turn it in, I leave. Well, my boss pulls the call. And there's
no call.
Yeah, there's a call, but there's no answer. So she has to fire me. And she was like, I really hate to do this, but I have to fire you. You broke the rules. Da, da, da. I get it. Whatever. So it's December. It's holiday time. I have Madison is 2 years old at the time, or she's about to be 2. And so I need money. So I do what I know I could go do and make money. I go to a strip club in Atlanta. So, and mind you, I'd never even been in a club before, ever. Not a topless bar, not nothing. And I'm like, well, I know that I can dance and I know that I look good. So screw it. I'm going to go see if I can get hired in a strip club in Atlanta. So I drive to Atlanta and I go to the strip club and I walk to the door and I'm like, I need a job. And they're
Hired.
like, yes, basically hired me on the spot. So I started on the day shift the next day. I had to go buy like clothes. Like I went to this little dance store that was down the street. I bought the shoes, I bought the outfit, and I start on the day shift the next day. And the manager ordered a table dance from me. I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't know when I was supposed to get on the table and dance so the girls are like, no, that's basically a lap dance. And I was like, oh my God, I cannot give him a lap dance and have to like look in his face afterwards. Like I can't do it. I had never experienced that. You got to remember, yes, I had been in some drug crowds. Yes, I'd done some things, but I'm still from the church in Summerville, Georgia, right? So I just wasn't scared of shit is what it was. So the bartender gives me a Valium. I take that Valium and it is on and popping. I'm on top of the bar dancing. I'm on top of the table dancing. Because when I'm in high school and we're doing these weekend parties in this girl's basement with her parents, that's what we were down there doing, getting drunk and dirty dancing. Like that's what we did. So I know how to dance. Now I'm just doing it. And I would always do it in these like themed outfits. So I would be a sailor, I would be a police officer. And they just ate that up, And so... And I'm geeked up out of my mind. So sometimes I would just be talking. I'm just all over the place. So the first night I had made $700 off the day shift when I left. And I was like, oh, it's over with. I am doing this. So now I'm a dancer. So I have these friends of mine are keeping Madison at the time. And I end up moving us into this really nice apartment in Rome, like the highest end apartments you could move into in Rome. I'm driving back and forth to Atlanta to the strip club, dancing on the day shift. I've got these friends of mine that are watching Madison for me that are Dustin's sisters, actually. So that's like what my schedule is. So I'm making all this money in Atlanta. I'm dancing down there. You know, my life is going well. Well, the police officer, we're broken up.
Yeah, I was going to say, what happened to him?
We had broken up. I broke it off with him. Oh, now he's just so in love with me and he wants, you know, to make things work. And it's because he couldn't have me anymore. Because, you know, you want what you can't have. So
Does he know you're dancing?
he does, because I had told him. So he knows I'm dancing, and he shows up at the house one day and sees who I have at my house. I'm not there. I'm at work. I'm on my way actually to the club to go work. And so he calls my mom and he tells my mom that I've got drug dealers, drug addicts watching Madison, and that I am also a stripper in the strip club. Damn it.
And she's thinking the mom's thinking it just gets better and better.
Right. And I'm like, damn it, Lee. Like, can you keep a secret? Like, seriously. So my mom calls me freaking out. You've got these drug addicts at your house watching Madison. I was, first of all, no, I do not. They are not drug addicts. And I was like, and second of all, yes, Mom, I'm working in the strip club. Yes, I am. And so the next day, her and my dad show up at my house, united front, and I hadn't seen either one of y'all together since probably the last time y'all showed up at the jail. So Daddy just so happens to be bringing the car seat to me for Madison, and my mom shows up at the same time. And they like bum rush me in my nice ass apartment that I'm paying for by myself with a at-home drug test, trying to force me to take this drug test. Now, I'm 20 years old at this point. Like, you can get out.
Right.
And so I take that drug test and I
Why,
go.
why do you take it? You're 20 years old.
Take it from them.
Oh, okay.
I go in the bathroom and I pour orange Listerine in it and I bring it back and set it on the table. And my mom's looking at it. She takes the lid off. She's like, this is mouthwash. And I was like, y'all can get the fuck out of my house. It's the first time I had ever cussed at my parents because I had it at that point. I'm like, I don't know who the hell you think you are, but you
trying
are not
to help me.
Like, you are not. You haven't been in my life. You don't help pay my bills. You don't take care of anything. You don't have anything to do with my daughter. Like, don't come running in here like the knight in shining armor thinking that you're going to save the day because I'm a stripper. Like, it is none of your business what I'm doing. Get the fuck out. So they're trying to like take Madison from me, like pull her from me. She's screaming and crying and they're like, look at what you're doing. I was like, no, you are doing this. Get out of my house. So they leave. And then not long after that, my ex-husband, which we weren't divorced yet, but my ex-husband's mother called DFAX on me. So DFAX gets involved. And when that happens, a report was made to the apartment complex that there was drug activity going on in my apartment. They evicted me. So when that happened, of course, I had to call my family because they're putting all of our shit out on the side of the road. And so they're coming and like getting all this. Gina is Madison's grandmother's name. She takes her and she makes this report to DFAX. DFAX gets involved and Gina has temporary custody of Madison in this moment. So during that time, I found another place to live at, and I am not stripping like really at the moment. So I'm just kind of surviving in this moment, trying to figure out what I'm going to do. So in the midst of all of that, I find this apartment in Cave Spring. I go back and I start to dance some more. And I turn on my 21st birthday. I'm in the strip club and someone drugs me. So
drugs you?
Yeah, they put date in my drink. So I work the day shift and I had been drinking the whole day because now I'm legally can drink. Jaeger bomb all day long. It's a wonder I didn't die from the day shift of Jaeger bombs. So my friend was supposed to come that night and meet me, and her birthday was Christmas and mine was New Year's Eve. So we were both going to go out together. So it's New Year's Eve. She does not show up. So I call Dustin and I'm like, hey, Amanda didn't show up to pick me up. I've drank too much. I cannot drive. Will you come get me? So he's on his way from Rome to come pick me up. So at this point, I go on to the night shift, and this man asked me, did I do VIP? So I'm like, yes, I do VIP. Well, I always danced with my back to them because I never wanted to look them in the face. It was not sexual to me. It would offend me if they would get like aroused by me dancing. I just had this thing about that. So, and I knew what it was, but to me, it just wasn't that. It was disgusting to me. So, but I did enjoy parts of it, because it was wild and it was fun and all that. So he slips drugs in my drink. And I drink it, and the room starts spinning. And it's like all this weird movement's going on. And so I sit back on him. I was like, oh, my God, like, I feel like I'm about to be sick. And I just start throwing up on his feet, just violently throwing up. He's like shoving money at me because he knows what he's done.
Yeah.
So
not what he expected.
No. So he gets up and sneaks out. The security on the outside has no idea what's going on. I end up getting up, stumbling out of there, going to the bathroom, and I'm just violently throwing up for like 2 hours. And so I ended up throwing it up all out of my system, and Dustin never found the club. He got lost, so I ended up driving home at like 5 o'clock that morning. So after that, I was like, that's it. I'm done with the strip club. Like, I cannot continue to live this life. So in the midst of all of that.
How do you know it was drugs and you weren't just super drunk?
Because he asked me, did I want some? He
okay.
offered it to me first, and I said no.
Okay.
And also, the house mom told me that every night there had been girls going out on stretchers because they were getting drugged in there. So, and maybe it was that I was just drunk, but I don't think so.
Okay.
And so I drive home. I have all these people in the midst of all this that are always asking me, do I have any drugs? Because they know that I use.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, I'm about to ask Dustin, and we're not in a relationship anymore. We're just friends. I'm about to ask him, will he front me a 1/4 ounce of ice?
Right.
And so I ask him, and he don't want to. And I'm like, listen, if you don't, somebody else will. So at least I trust you. Just let me get it from you. So he finally agrees to give it to me because I just wasn't having it any other way. So he fronts me this 1/4 ounce. I break it down and sell it in little bitty bags. And I come back to him the next day, and I was able to pay for that and also buy another ounce in cash. So at that point, I'm like, holy crap, like there's money in this. No wonder everybody's selling drugs. I'm about to start selling drugs. Forget everything else. I'm about to be a drug dealer. So now enters Jennifer Rogers, Miss Hollywood Jen, drug dealer of Rome, Georgia, QueenPin of Rome, Georgia. So now I'm starting to deal drugs. And in the midst of all this, I have gotten Madison back from her grandmother. DFAX is out of the picture. And they closed the case because I'm passing drug tests. And so in the beginning of when all that was going on. So I have her back. Now I'm just a full-blown drug dealer. I mean, I would always have thousands of dollars cash on me. I'd go to Walmart. I might drop $1,000 on Madison. Toys, whatever she wanted. She's little. She's only 2. But I had this one family that would keep her for me when I would go out and like sell drugs. So I had somewhere that, a married couple, they would keep her, and they knew what I was doing because they would get high sometimes. So they would keep her for me, and I would go out and I would sell these drugs. So I'm living this lifestyle, and Dustin ends up getting arrested, violating his probation. And so when that happened, I took on all his clients. And so now I've went from just like dabbling here and there to now I've got like this little enterprise going on because now I have the people that I was serving and now the people that he was serving. And now I'm linked in with the person he was getting the drugs from. And so now I've just taken his role, and I could take the same drugs that he had, cut it, and still charge more. And people would rather buy it from me than him. And so he and I had ended up getting back together during this time frame, and we're dating, and he's away in this boot camp, and he's calling home and he's writing letters, and he's like, I really want you to like get your life together. Like, I want to get out. I don't want us to do drugs anymore. Madison deserves a better life. Like, you don't belong in this world. I don't know what, and they always said that. All the people, they would always say, what are you doing? Like, listen to how you talk. You don't even sound like you belong in this realm. And I was like, what does that even mean? Like, I just loved it because it was fun. So He's wanting to change his life. Well, now I've become the dope man. So I have no interest in changing my life. I'm making all this money. You know, it's like I was famous in my own little world. I would get high. I remember one night, I was always working on stuff. Because I hang around all guys and they were all geeked up and they all had trade skills. Like they were builders or they could lay tile or they could plumb or whatever it was. And so I literally learned how to do all of these trade skills because I'm high all the time around all these guys. So like we're out there one night, the internet goes out. And so I'm outside and I have this light on my head, you know, one of those flashlights. So I'm outside trying to fix the internet because I've learned some things about like wiring and stuff, right? So I'm out there, I'm tinkering with these wires and my friend Matt is next to me and he's like, oh my God. He was like, what if people like could sell drugs on eBay? And, you know, I'm down and I'm working and it like dawns on me and I have this light on and I come up, my flashlight's beaming, it's dark outside and I was like, yo, like wireless trafficking. Just dumb shit like that. Like just high shit. We were doing it all the time. But it was just fun in the beginning. It was fun. So I was living in this trailer in the woods, right? Because of the area that I'm in, it's like you know, the drug people were kind of confined to this one area of Lindale. And so I'm in this trailer, and the trailer right here, there was another guy that lived in it, one of my other good friends, and he was kind of dealing drugs. And so you kind of stayed within like your community of that area of people that you knew that were dealing drugs on your level anyways. So I had totally gutted this trailer and remodeled it. This was when like MTV Cribs was a big thing.
Right.
I knocked down walls. I tiled in a floor to ceiling shower. I had all these shower heads going, drop ceiling, hardwood floors, big bathtub tiled into the middle of the floor, like in a trailer that I didn't own. And it was because I had this couple and they had this Home Depot scam with Home Depot and Lowe's, and they were like stealing merchandise and taking it and returning it to another Lowe's store. And so they always had gift cards. And so they would trade me the gift cards for dope. And I'm like, what am I going to do with all these Home Depot? So I literally decked this place out. I had a hot tub on the front porch. I had a hot tub on the back porch. Like one day, the blower on the hot tub had quit working, and I'm out there taking it apart, trying to fix it. Because at this point, I can wire in car stereos. Like I can wire in the lights in the house. I can plumb. I can do anything at this point. So I'm out here. I'm taking it apart. I'm trying to figure out why it's not working. I put it all back together. And I realized it had a fuse in it. After I'd done all that for days and days and days, I had been working, and it's just a blown fuse. So I go by the fuse, I replace it. Now I'm down to where I got to wire it back. And I got 4 wires, and 3 of them are black and 1 is green. And it did not have the plus and minus sign, and I could not remember which one was the hot wire. And so I'm getting ready to wire it. There's the hose. I'm filling the hot tub up. There's water everywhere. And so I wire it to which ones I think that it is. My friend's inside, and I'm like, cut on the breaker. I want to see if it works. He cuts the breaker on it. He goes, bah, 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 bah. It fires going. I was like, cut that breaker off. So he cuts the breaker off. I had the wires backwards. So I rewire it, fix the wires. He cuts the breaker on. It works. I literally took this entire hot tub together and put it back together. So this is the stuff that I was doing. It was
never broken to
begin
with.
It was a fuse. But the fact that I took it apart, the entire thing, I took it totally apart, and then I reassembled it and put it back together. So that was just the stuff that I was into. You know, it's like I was a tweaker. At the end of the day, that's what I was doing. So I'm living this life, and Dustin gets out. And he's wanting us to change our lives. I just couldn't do it. I was not there anymore. If he'd have caught me in a different moment, maybe. But in that moment, there was just no way. And so Dustin, being who Dustin was, very competitive, he could not stand to sit back and watch me doing what he used to do, you know, with all his customers and all this thing. So now he starts back selling. So now we're both selling. And it was almost like a competition between us. Even though we're dealing with each other, even though we're dating, it ate him up that people would rather buy dope from me and it would be the same dope, and I would charge more than him. And so it's like this dynamic that we had, right?
Is he living in the trailer with you, or?
No. So at this time, no, we're not in the trailer anymore. Let me actually back up. So before he gets out, I ended up going to a friend of mine's house because I would get a pound sometimes a half a pound, and I would divide it up and I would drop it at 2 different guys' houses, and then they would sell it. So this one particular night, I had half of that left, and I was like, I'm so tired. I just want out of this lifestyle because I was paranoid all the time. Like, I knew that we were being watched. At all times, I knew we were being watched.
Were you being watched, or
yes,
did you just think it?
No,
Oh, you were.
We
okay.
were.
Llamas?
No, it was not llamas this time. It was for real. So after I broke the Rome City Police Department, the officer's heart, he had it out for me. Seriously. And that's going to come out in a minute. So they were watching. They were always trying to catch us with something. They never could. And so I'm trying to remember.
See, if I was Dustin, I'd be like, listen, I'm not dating you.
Dustin was hotter than I was.
You got a cop that's after you.
But we didn't know he was after me at the time. We knew that I knew his heart was broken. It didn't.
Right.
That didn't show his head for a second. So he's locked up. I'm out here slinging dope. I dropped the dope off to this guy's house.
Do you have any idea how ridiculous it sounds? You saying I'm slinging dope, or I'm the dope man?
I was, and I was good at it. So I leave this guy's house, and I tell him, this is it. I'm not doing this anymore. I've got enough money in my pocket. I'm going to get Madison, and I'm going out of town for a while, and I just need a break from all this. I really did want to change because I knew that if I continued down the path that I was on, it was not going to end in anything positive. Because everybody around me had been getting arrested, so the writing was on the wall.
Right.
So I leave his house, and I pull out, and I'm going down the street, and there's a Rome City police officer parked. And when I go past him, he pulls out behind me. And I knew that my license were suspended because I had a speeding ticket that I forgot to pay. And so they had suspended my license. All I had to do was pay the speed ticket. So he pulls out behind me. And so I'm like, shit, my license. So I pull into my friend's mother's hair shop. It's at night. I pull in. The police officer goes down the road. I turn my car off. I turn my lights off. 5 minutes later, he comes back in. He pulls in behind me and he hits his lights. So he comes up to my window and he's like, license and registration, please. And I was like, why? And so he asked me again. We went back and forth and did that for a second because I knew that I had been sitting there long enough with my car off and my lights off that he had no probable cause to ask me. He knew that my license were suspended because the whole Rome City Police Department thing, they had been watching.
Right.
Lee knew, there was all this stuff going on, right? So he says, I know that your license are suspended. Step out of the car. You're under arrest for suspended license. I know I don't have any drugs on me, so I am totally unbothered and unfazed. It's just an inconvenience at this point. I know I got enough cash in my pocket that when I get to the jail, I'm going to cash bond out for driving on suspended license. So he starts searching my car. And he's convinced he's going to find something. They're taking apart everything, like the speaker system, the amp. Like I had all these other stereos in the back that weren't hooked up to anything like CD players. He's literally sure he's going to find something. So earlier that day, there had been this big run-in that happened on a fraud case with this guy for embezzlement in Rome, and he owned a sex shop. So the girl that was friends with him had called me and was like, girl, I got all these sex toys over here from the sex shop. Come get them. I'm just giving everything away. So I go over there and she sends me with these grocery bags full. Dildos, body butter, paint, body paint, all this stuff. So I have all that in the back of my car too. So he's having a field day searching through all my shit. So he picks that bag up and the bottom falls out. And dildos go everywhere on the ground. His face turns red. He's scrambling, trying to pick them up. And I'm in the back of the cop car. Yeah, motherfucker, that's what you get. I'm talking all the shit. Because I know I don't have anything. So they don't find anything. We get to the jail. And they ask him, what are you booking her for? And he says, possession of meth, possession with intent to distribute, pills not in original container, theft by services singular ghost phone, concealed tag, altered tag, no proof of insurance, and driving on a suspended license. And I said, what? And he said, and make sure you pull her prior because I don't want her to bat her pretty little blue eyes and get out of this one. I'm stunned because I know I don't have drugs. I know I don't. I know what is in my car. So the next morning, I go to jail, or I go into first appearance for a bond. And I had already called Dustin's dad because Dustin is still locked up. So I had already called them. They had already called the bondsman. And the bondsman actually just so happened to be friends with my mom. And they were going to pay the money to him. He was going to come bond me out when I got the bond. And so while I'm sitting in first appearance, they had already told me what my bond was going to be. I get called out of first appearance. And they bring me back into the sheriff's office, and it's my mom and the sheriff. Because my mom worked in the court system. Yeah. So she knows everybody. So they want to know where Madison is. And I'm not telling her. I'm like, I'm not telling you where she is. Like, she's safe. I know where she is. I know who she's with. And she's like, these are very serious charges. You are not going to get a bond. I was like, actually, I already have a bond, and it will be signed as soon as first appearance is over. Right. So I ended up, they're not letting me go. They're like, they will not let me leave that office until I tell her where Madison is. So I end up telling her where Madison is so that she can go pick her up because I know that I'm about to get out. So I'm just going to go get her anyways. So I get back and they take me back to the jail, and the bondsman came and signed my bond, and they hold me. And I'm calling the bondsman. He was like, I've signed it. I don't know what's going on. And so my mom had me held in there for 3 days on a signed bond so that she could get me in front of the juvenile court justice judge to take temporary custody of Madison away. Mm. So the charges are trumped up. So it's not like they're going to drop the charges. I know that, but they don't believe it at this point. Like, because they've watched my life. They know I've got all this stuff going on. So at this point, they believe nothing. So it didn't matter anyways. So I'm in there, and Mom was like, these are very serious charges. Like, I speak with her privately before we get in there. So I go in the courtroom, and it's her, and it's all of my ex-husband's family. Now, he and I are still legally married at this time, but we've all went our separate ways. We had just never filed for divorce. So it's my mom and all his family, and the judge is like, you can't take care of your daughter from jail. And I was like, well, the funny thing about that is I have a signed bond. And I have been being held on this signed bond for 3 days so that I could come into this court hearing so that you could take temporary custody of my daughter away. I knew exactly what was going on. Right. So they give my mom temporary custody. I speak to her outside of the courtroom, and she was like, you need to get help. These are serious charges. And I just told her, I was like, listen, yes, I'm a drug dealer. I am. And I was like, but I'm not hurting anyone. I was going to get Madison. I was going to get out of it. And then this happens. And I told her I did not have drugs on me when they pulled me over. So I leave from there. She's got temporary custody of Madison, and DFAX is involved at this point. So my husband at the time, he comes and he files an emergency custody hearing and tries to get custody of Madison, and they deny him because he hadn't been active in her life at this point. So my mom still has temporary custody, and she and I have a very strained relationship at this point because she knows, I'm embarrassed. I'm an embarrassment to her and the family, and she's in the court system and all this. And so, now I'm having to go there to see Madison. And it was a strain because of mine and my mom's relationship at the time. And, Madison, I was all she knew. And so at night when I would go there and I would lay there, and she would just she's 2, she would have her little hands on my face, and she would just say, Mommy, I just want to go home with you. And I couldn't take her. Mm-hmm. There was nothing that I could have done to take her because this order was in place. And I would leave there and I would just go get so high that I didn't feel it because I didn't know what else to do. I was too deep at that point to just walk away. I was addicted. I'm in this lifestyle. I don't know what to do. And I've got this little child that is the only thing that I ever felt like truly loved me. And here I am in this emotional moment with her, and I just couldn't. I could not get my shit together. And so In the midst of all of that, my husband files for divorce. The judge on that state case is the same judge on my divorce case. I hired a great lawyer because I had the money to hire the lawyer, and for both cases, the divorce and the state case. So the state case is coming up for court, and the judge decided he was going to wait and rule on my divorce case and custody until he sees what happens with this case. Well, they had to throw the case out.
You mean your criminal case?
Yes, the criminal case. So we get in there for the criminal case, and my lawyer basically pulls up that another case law and said it was an illegal stop, it was an illegal search, it was an illegal seizure. Regardless of the evidence at this point, that doesn't matter because he had no right to do any of that. So they get the cop up on the stand, and they're like, so you mean to tell me, and the cop tried to lie and say that he was just questioning me, that I wasn't under arrest, that I could have pulled off at any time in the midst of that before he asked me to step out of the car and run my license and all that, because he already knew my license were suspended. So but that wasn't probable cause because he had not ran my license yet. He just had knowledge.
Right.
Yes. So my attorney was like, so you mean to tell me if she would have put her car in reverse and driven off, that we would not also be sitting here on eluding and, fleeing charges? So they end up having to throw the entire case out. So when that happened, the judge was going to give me custody of Madison back. But the one question that he had asked me was, what was I doing for income? And I told him that I was dancing, which I wasn't. I was selling drugs, but I just told him I was dancing. And he said that if I wanted custody of Madison back, I could not be a stripper, that I had to have an upstanding job to get custody of her back.
That's
because it's Rome, Georgia.
I was gonna say there's nothing wrong with stripping. I mean, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with it, but it's illegal. It's a legitimate job.
It's a legitimate job, but it was not acceptable in his eyes. And so I leave from there, and he's going to rule in 30 days, and I was going to get custody of Madison back at that point. Well, I get pulled over. They throw the case out, and the same day that they throw the case out, I get pulled over in another county. And I'm in the car with Dustin and this other guy that was selling drugs with us, and we go through a roadblock. His license are suspended. And when his license are suspended, they have us all step out of the car. I have $3,500 cash on me, and they search the car, and they find in the trunk and some scales, and there was like this powder, this white powder, but it was creatine. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't claim any of the stuff that's in his car, so they charge us possession with intent to distribute.
It's his car.
Yep. So
it's his car, and it's in the trunk.
And we all get charged because he won't claim it. So we all go to jail again. And when that happened, and they pulled the transcript of me saying that I got the money from stripping, the $3,500 for stripping, the judge was basically like, I told you that you had to get a real job. And you're on record right here in this arrest saying that you were stripping, and that's where the money came from, and that is unacceptable. And I lost full custody of Madison when that happened. And in the midst of that, I had been passing drug screens for DFACs. So it was really like, it really came down to the strip club thing because, and of course I was fake passing them, but I was passing them nonetheless. Mm-hmm. And so when that happened and I lost full custody of Madison, that was it. I lost my total mind. And I didn't want to live anymore. And so I did more drugs, and I got more high, and I just did everything that I could because I just had no desire to live anymore. So Dustin and I, we are in and out with each other at this point because, it just was a bad situation, and the drugs started to get bad, and there were droughts going on, and he had become violent towards me. And we had some altercations where he had dislocated my shoulder and blacked my eye. And it was like all of this stuff going on. And we had pulled out in a car together one night from his grandmother's house. And we had a shaving kit bag, and it had drugs in it, some scales, a Solo cup, all the stuff that we would use to deal with. And when we pulled out, across the street, there was this public park, and there were all these black SUVs lined up, and it was a drug task force. So we shoot down this little side road, and we dump the drugs. We throw them out on the side of the road, and we go home. We're going to go back the next day or in a couple of hours and pick them up when we know they're not all out there because we think they're about to pull us over. So we go home. We don't have drugs on us, so we don't have anything to stay up and stay high on. So we end up falling asleep, and we go back the next day in the afternoon when we had woke up, and the drugs are not there. And so we're like freaking out because we know where we left them at, where we put them at. And so we're out there looking, and while we're looking, a Rome City police officer pulls up and asks us what we're looking for. And I was like, I had my ring in my hand. I dropped it on the ground, and I'm out here. I'm looking for my ring on the ground. I mean, it was so to the point that we even had his grandmother, who is a total innocent bystander in all this, out there helping us look for for the drugs. So he leaves in my car. And when he leaves in my car, they swarm him and pull him over. And they're like, we know that y'all are really looking for a bag containing ice because we have the bag, and we are going to fingerprint that bag. And if we find out that your fingerprints are on that bag, we are going to arrest you both for possession with the intent to distribute. So they have to let him go because he doesn't have anything on him. Mm-hmm. So he comes back, he tells me, and we're like, okay, what's going on? Because we knew that we had trafficking in that bag, not possession with the intent to distribute. And we're also high, we're addicts. So we've got a skewed version of what we think is true and not true. And mm-hmm. everybody could be somebody. You just don't trust anybody at this point. So he and I end up splitting up after that because it was the stress of everything, the feds, all this stuff is going on, and we're like, we just need to get away from each other. So I go in hiding, basically. I just disappear off the face of the earth. Well, I was on city probation for driving on a suspended license, and they had called me one day and were like, you need to come in today and report or we're going to violate you, like out of the blue. They just want me to come in. So I go up there and I report, and they want me to take a urine.
Yeah, well, okay.
So I'm like, I'm not giving you a dirty urine. I'm in here for driving on suspended license. What you're not going to violate me on is a dirty urine. So I put toilet water in the cup and hand it back to them. And the woman pulls the temperature read, and she was like, oh, it has no temperature. You must be dead. She's like, we're violating you for failure to give urine. I would rather that than a dirty screen. And so I'm like, no big deal. I know I got enough money in my pocket. I'm about to go cash bond out. So I'm waiting on the police to come to arrest me, to take me to the jail for failure to produce. And in comes the drug task force. And they are who took me to the jail. So the head of the drug task force was like, and he's dead now, but at that time, he died like years later. But he was like, you're letting these guys ruin your life. You're from a good family. Like, we know that those drugs were y'all's, and you're going to end up going down for it and losing Madison forever if you don't get your shit together, and the DEA wants to have a conversation with you. They drop me off at the jail. I cash bond out on a city probation violation, pay out my probation there, because really that was the only reason I was still on it, because I had to pay the fine off. And I had the money to pay the fine. I just did not. So I pay the fine. I get out. I call my attorney. The attorney that helped me beat the state case. I tell him what happened. And he said, if your fingerprints are on that bag, I don't care what you tell them, but you better make it look like you're cooperating and lie. So I agree to go meet with them. And I'm geeked up when I go in there, and I'm sitting in there with the DEA, and in my stupid mind, because I'm not from a criminal family. No one in my family were criminals. Dustin was from criminals. His dad had been in prison. His uncle had been in prison. His dad was the first one to bring ice from Georgia. So they really wanted him. And they said that in our talk. They were like, first of all, anything that you say we cannot use against you. You are not being recorded. You are not being detained. This is just a conversation. So they say, we know that dope was Dustin's, and we want you to wear a wire on Dustin so that we can get Dustin, because we want Dustin, basically. And Dustin's
got to go.
And I say, in my ignorance of trying to protect Dustin, we're trying to get our lives together, and Dustin has been doing good, and I have sold more dope than Dustin Lindsay's ever sold.
Oh, that's a mistake. That was a bad thing.
I didn't realize at the time it was a mistake because in my mind, I'm thinking, they don't want me, they want him. So as long as I can protect him, they're not going to come after me because what are they going to gain from coming after me? Nothing. And they got to catch me to come after me. So I leave, and then they tell me as I'm leaving that if I tell Dustin anything that was said, they're coming for me. So, of course, Dustin knew I was there. So, as soon as I get in the car, I call him, and I am freaking out. They are after you. They want me to wear a wire on you, and you can't say anything, and we've got to get out of the drug game. I'm freaking out. So, I disappear. Literally, from the face of the earth. I change my phone number. All I have is a Nextel chirp that you can get through me on. I'm staying at the lake in Alabama. No one knows where I'm at. Dustin hits me up one night and he was like, I need to talk to you. And he's just crying. And he's like, I got pulled over in the car with somebody with the drug task force. And I asked John Blaylock, who was the head of task force that passed. He said, I asked him why they were trying to get you to wear a wire on me. And he was like, and they're going to get you and it's my fault. And I know. And I was like, why would you do that? You're so stupid. And so I for real was lost and nobody knew where I was. And so I'm on the run, hiding, and I'm not even under arrest yet, but I'm running. I am in hiding. So he hits me up one morning on my Nextel chirp, and he's like, I hope you went to court this morning, you little, you know what. So I was like, damn it. I did have court this morning for my second driving on a suspended license charge. So I called my attorney, the same one that has, I've been using for all this stuff. He was like, I'm at the courthouse. You're not here. You need to come up here. I'm holding the judge off. He wants you to serve 10 days for the second driving on a suspended license charge. So I go up there and they arrest me from the courthouse and I have to go serve 10 days. So while I'm in there, my dad comes and sees me in visitation because no matter what I had going on at that point, my dad was just holding out hope for me that one day I would get it together. So he comes to my visitation and he was like, you just need to join the military. He was like, you're smart, you're young, you can get away from all this, just join the military. And I was like, okay, I will. Because I was tired at that point. I had lost everything. I had lost the only thing that I loved really, which was Madison. I had nothing left to really live for. My life was spiraling and it was all this chaos going on. And so I was like, okay, I'll do that. So while I'm in there, Dustin gets arrested for 10 felonies, trafficking, eluding, all these crazy drug charges. So I end up getting out. I go to the military office with my dad. They pull my ASVAB scores from high school, and they're like, you actually scored very high. We will take you into basic training. Because at that point, I had no drug convictions. The only thing that I had was these driving on suspended license because I had beat the cases that I had.
Right.
Now, I had the one that was pending in Polk County, but they were like, if you come into the military, we can work on that for you. So I agree that I'm going to go in, but I have to get my city probation officer to take me off of the level of security that they had me on and put me on, I think, non-in-person report so that I could go to boot camp. So I call my city probation officer to have a meeting with them because I want them to sign the paper saying that they will agree to take me off the level of probation I was on so that I could go into boot camp. Mm-hmm. I get there, and it's taking longer than it should take, and in walks the DEA. I had been indicted.
So you'd been indicted on the same thing that Dustin had been indicted for, or another separate case?
We were indicted on the bag that we had thrown out on the side of the road.
Okay.
So the DEA puts me in the back of the car. They don't even cuff me. They just put me in the back of the car, and they're like, we gave you the opportunity to do the right thing. Oh, but you loved Dustin. Oh, you wanted to protect Dustin. And the moment Dustin got arrested on this last charge, he turned on you. And his exact words were, you got it ass backwards, that dope was hers. I'm like, you motherfucker. And I believed it. And to this day, he denies it. And I believed it because, one, it sounded like something he would say. And two, I think that they probably had him believing that I was going to turn on him and he was about to go to prison as a career criminal for the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm indicted by the feds. And I'm in there and I call my dad and he answers and I've got court. I think that was probably on a Friday. So on that following Monday, I had a court arraignment appearance in federal court or whatever for a bond. So I go in there. My dad's the only person that shows up, and the judge gives me a bond, and it's a OR bond. But the condition of my OR bond is that I have to go home to a safe environment. Well, the only safe environment I had at this point were my parents, and they were not having it. Because at this point, they're so scared to death. They think I'm linked with the mob and the mafia, and, at any moment, everybody might turn up dead. Because, they just don't know. They're not from
little tiny
this
town.
world. Yes. So they won't get me out. And the one friend that I had that would, their feds are like, oh, hell no, you're not going there. And so they leave me in jail. So I go back to county jail. I'm in federal holding in Rome, Georgia. And I had been in there for about 2 weeks. And while I was in there, a woman had come in with a church. And she was like, I'd never had a conversation with her before, never seen her before, and I never saw her again. But she walks up to me and she says, can I pray for you? Well, at that point, what's praying for me gonna do? Shit, I've lost everything. And I don't care how mad at God I am. Yep, you can
Can't
pray
hurt.
for me. Right, it
Can't
cannot
hurt.
get any worse. And so I was like, yes, you can pray for me. And you couldn't have looked at me and known that I was like an addict or anything like that because I did not look like one unless you knew me. And she prayed for me and she spoke in tongues. And when she got done, she looked me directly in my eyes. She said, you will never go back to your addiction again. And in that moment, I knew I'd never go back, and I never did. It was like I could breathe again for the first time. And I just knew. I knew that I wasn't going to go back. And so I run and I call my dad on the phone and I was like, Daddy, I am healed. Now come get me out. And he starts laughing and he's like, listen, I really hope that you are. I really hope. And I want to believe that. But, this has been years in the making of us watching you self-destruct over and over again and me wondering when I'm just going to get a call that you're dead in a ditch somewhere. And I really hope that this is it for you. But, you're going to have to sit because we're scared to death for you to come home. So they end up moving me to Alabama, Fort Payne, Alabama, federal holding over there. And I started to I was clean. It was the first time that I had been clean in a very long time. And so the fog and the haze was like coming off of my life at that point. So I was thinking clearly, sorry, I was remorseful. And mostly because of Madison, because, I ruined her life. And so she's now with my ex-husband and his new wife. And they will not allow me to communicate with her. Like, I wrote a letter to both of them and just apologized. And I thanked her for being the mom in Madison's life that I could not be and how sorry I was. And that, I was just an addict and I was stuck and I didn't know how to get my way out, but I was changing my life and that I was going to prove that I was going to change and all this stuff. And she wrote me back the most hateful letter. And she was basically like, fuck off. Like, you're not a mom to her because of you, and she didn't have you because of you, and like just mean. And I just had to accept it because I had created this mess. So my mom ended up being who bonded me out. So I spent 4 months in there, and she had come and visited me. My dad never missed a visitation. Every week he was there. And he could see the change in me because I was working on myself and I was reading these self-help books. And there were these Christian programs that were coming in at the time. And, they were helping me work through like, what is it? What is wrong with me? Why did I make the choices that I was making? Like, what part of me felt like that's what I was worthy of or that I needed or that I deserved? And so I was doing all this work on myself. And my mom comes and visits with her husband, and she's like, we're going to get you out, but you have to agree to go to this rehab if we get you out. And so I agreed, and they got me out, but I also knew that I didn't need rehab because I knew that I was not going to go back to my addiction. So I made a deal with them, and I was like, listen, just make a deal with me because there is a high probability that I'm going to go to prison. Like, just let me spend this time with y'all as my family, as a clean person, as a sane person right now. And if I mess up, if I fail a drug test, because I was on Codafone and all the stuff and on pretrial, I was like, if I mess up, I'll go. I will go. So they agreed. They agreed to let me stay out, and I turned my life around. I was out for 8 months. I was going to therapy with the lady that my probation made me go to. You know, I'm doing all the random drug screens. I had gotten a job. I had met this guy, and I'm dating this guy. And on paper, it all looked great. But I was so miserable and so depressed because I hadn't lived a normal life in such a long time that I just wanted to sleep all the time. You know, I just didn't know who I was outside of all that. I got involved with this ministry called Freedom Ministries in Rome, which was like a faith-based recovery program. And through all of that, I just started to find myself, and I started to feel good about who I was in that moment. And so my ex-husband and his wife were not letting me communicate with Madison. So I actually filed a motion with the court to be able to communicate because I had supervised visitation according to our court agreement. Mm-hmm. So the judge had ordered them to bring Madison to Georgia because he was going to grant me that because they knew I had done so well. I've been out 8 months and it was all there, you know. And so the day that they were supposed to come to court, my federal sentencing got scheduled the same day. So the judge was like, I want to wait and see what happens on her federal sentencing guidelines. So we get in the courtroom. Probation was an option because I had still was level 1. I hadn't had any hardcore convictions at this point. And so we get in front of the judge. My mom goes up there. She's crying like, please don't send her to prison. I am a court reporter. I see what prison does to people on a daily basis. Like, the person that is standing in front of you today is not the same person that committed that crime a year and a half ago or however long it had been. And so the judge just matter-of-factly says, she may not be the same person that she was a year and a half ago, but maybe she'll have a little more respect for the law. The U.S. Attorney's Office is asking for 2 years. No, they wanted 36 months. They're asking for 36 months in federal prison. I'm going to round the 4 months that she served in county up to 6 months, and I'm going to give her 24 months in a federal prison camp. I felt nothing. I was so emotionless in my life at that point in time because I had just been through so much from abuse and assault and all of these things that I had lived with in that lifestyle, losing my daughter being the number one thing that I was just so emotionally detached. I had nothing. I just felt nothing. My dad's sobbing. My mom is sobbing. And I had one prayer in all of that, and that was just that I wanted to see my daughter before I went to prison. Well, she's back out in Washington State because that's where her dad was still living at. And so I'm waiting on my self-surrender letter because I had done so well on pretrial, they were going to let me self-surrender. So I get my letter in the mail. I'm supposed to go to a minimum security prison camp. I get my letter in the mail, and I'm going to a maximum security federal detention center in SeaTac, Washington, which just so happened to be where my daughter lived at.
Why?
Because they said that the camps were overcrowded. And so anybody that had 3 years or less, this is where they're sending them. And there was nothing that could be done about it. Like,
what year was this?
This was in 2007.
Okay.
2007, I think.
All right.
Yeah. So I self-surrender to Washington. Well, when the judge found out that that's where I was going to surrender to, he ordered my ex-husband and his wife to allow me to see Madison for 4 days before I turned myself in under the supervision of my mom. So my mom and I fly out there. I get to see Madison for the first time. I mean, they haven't even let me talk to her on the phone. And it had been at that point, I think a year and a half, maybe, since I had seen her or had any communication with her. So she clung to me as if, you know, no time had lapsed. And so they agreed when I turned myself into prison that they would let me continue to communicate with Madison because they felt like she needed that. So I turn myself in to this prison, have no idea what it is that I'm about to walk into. And I'll go in, and when that door shut behind me, I didn't see daylight till the day I left. There was no outside yard. It was all controlled movement. We locked down 3 times a day per count. The doors on our cells, it was like bunk. It was literally county jail style on steroids.
Right.
So I get in there, and the weight of what I had just walked into finally set in. And that's when I first cried. And all of that, I felt nothing until I got in that cell, and I'm like, how am I going to survive for 2 years in this? So I get in there, and I'm just crying every day for, like the first week probably. And I finally kind of start to get into a routine, and, I'm just getting used to prison life. Well, in the midst of all of that, you just do what you do in prison. You go day by day, you disconnect, you disengage. And the one thing that kept me kind of sane during all that is that I was talking to my daughter, on the phone. They were answering my calls. My dad was keeping money on my books. And then one day I call her, and my ex-husband answers, and he's like, we're not letting you talk to her anymore. And I was like, why? And he said, because Madison told Kelly that you're a better mom than she is, and we feel like you put her up to saying that. And I was like, I would never say anything to Madison to jeopardize my communication with her, number one. And number two, I have openly thanked Kelly for being a good mom to her. And so they cut my communication. I would write her letters. I would send her things. I sent her angel tree. Kelly refused it, sent it all back to the jail. And it was just really difficult, because it's like that was the one thing that I had kind of holding me together. And here I am in this maximum security. There's no programs. There's nothing to do other than to go to church. And so I'm going to church because that's really the only thing to do. They offered a screenwriting program. I went to that, and I got into a prison relationship with a woman. So I had never been with a woman before.
This is constant. This is a pretty constant theme, right?
Yes, it is. So I get into this relationship. I'd never been with a woman before, but I had made friends with this girl, and I could tell, that she liked women. And so I never will forget, because I was like, I liked her. Something about her. I don't know what it was. I was lonely, and she was good company. And so I had told her.
Stud?
Not necessarily. She could go either way. She had a boyish look to her, but when she would do her hair and her makeup, she was a very beautiful woman. But definitely she would have been more boyish than girlish, just in her day-to-day look. So, and she liked women. She had liked women before, but so she had been going to the Jehovah's Witness Bible study, and she was really trying to change her life. She wanted to change her life for the Lord, because that was the right thing to do, So I'm liking her at this point. And so I have a conversation with her. I'm like, listen, I like you, and I'm really into you. And she was Hispanic. And she was like, Mommy, I'm really trying to change, I'm really trying to do the right thing. So I just cannot do this. I can't. It's not right. And I was like, but are you sure? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, when I walk out this door, that's it. I walk out the door, and she lets me just leave. Because, we have cells on our doors. Mm-hmm. And so I just walk down the hallway, and I'm like, there's no way she just turned me down. So I go back in there, and I'm like, are you sure? And she just grabs me and pushes me up against the wall, and she starts kissing me. And I felt this burn in my skin that I have never felt before. So that was it. Now I got a prison girlfriend. So that really helped me.
This is so out of character for the person that I thought you were when you walked in this room.
Oh, I know. But that's what makes me interesting, because, I can stand on a stage and people think I am the Department of Justice, right. That I am the attorney, not that I am the one that's caused all hell to these people, right? So I get in this relationship with her, and she really taught me a lot about myself. She really helped me to understand, myself, and as crazy and as outlandish or outrageous as that sounds, above all, she was my friend. And she was a friend for me in a time that my life was just in such confinement and disarray. And we would get into arguments because she used to say, Mommy, you are not gay. She was like, you're not gay. You never try to like touch me or do anything to me. And she was like, and I'm okay with it because I enjoy doing things to you. And she was like, but you're not gay. And I was like, okay. And no, what she said was, if we were on the streets, you never would have looked at me twice because you're not gay. And I was like, okay. And that might be true, but that does not negate the fact that I really do love you because I really loved her. Like, I was ready to forsake it all for her. I was ready to get out because she was getting deported. She grew up in the United States. Her whole life she had been here. Oh, she had a son that was born here. So he's a citizen and she's getting deported. And like her husband served her in prison and I helped her respond legally to that serve, like about custody of her son. You know, we just went through a lot together. And so I am in love with her. I'm coming to Mexico when I get out because I just have to be with this woman because I just love her, you know? And so she ends up getting out before I do. Mm-hmm. And when she got out, I was so devastated. And I knew the distance from her, the separation from her. I started to kind of come back to my senses. Like, what are you doing? You cannot get out and go to Mexico. Like, your whole plan is, you have a plan. The plan is you're getting out, you're getting your life together, and you're going to get Madison back, and you're going to do all these great things, and you know you're going to help save people because you've made it through something, and you're not an addict anymore. Like, I had these visions of what my life was going to look like, and it was not that. And so in the midst of all that, I end up getting this job in the kitchen in veg prep. And so I'm working in veg prep and I'm in there with these other two girls. And one day I get pulled and they arrest me in the kitchen, like put me in handcuffs and take me and put me in the shoe. Mm-hmm. I have no idea what I've done and they will not tell me. So here I am, I'm locked up in solitary confinement. I am losing my damn mind because I'm in this little room. They're feeding me through a hole in the door. There is no shower. They only let the women out. It's a co-ed prison. So on the other side, there's men. And on the men's side, and their like housing like that, they had showers in their SEG program. And ours, there were not. So the women, they would let you out for a shower for 5 minutes, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And so they let me out the first day, and the one day that I was able to get out and call on the phone, because I think they let you do that once a week. I called my mom. She gets an attorney involved. They're trying to find out what's going on. The prison's telling nothing because they're like, we don't owe you anything. Yeah. She's a property of the government at this point. Yeah. So finally, the feds show up, and they pull me in a room, and they're questioning me, and they're like, we think that you've been sleeping with this officer that's under investigation for sleeping with another inmate. And I'm like, I am flabbergasted. I'm like, oh, hell no. And they're like trying to coerce me into admitting it. Like, if you don't admit this and we find any evidence that you're lying, we're putting 5 years onto your sentence. They're trying to coerce me into admitting that I'm sleeping with this officer and give me 5 years. And so I'm like, basically go fuck yourself because I did not do it and I'm not going to. Now, he really was sleeping with the inmate that he was already under investigation for.
Right.
So
if you sleep hot at night, you know how disruptive that can be. Whether you're having trouble falling asleep, you're waking up sweating in the middle of the night, or all of the above. That's where Ghost Bed can help. As the makers of the coolest beds in the world, Ghost Bed is your go-to for cooling mattresses, cooling pillows, and cooling bedding. From their signature Ghost Ice fabric to patented technology that adjusts to your body's temperature, every Ghost Bed mattress is designed with cooling in mind. So whether you want a plusher mattress that cushions your shoulders and hips, or a firm option with exceptional support, your Ghost Bed will keep you cool and comfortable all night long. When you purchase a Ghost Bed mattress, your comfort is guaranteed. You can try out your mattress for 101 nights, risk-free, to make sure it's the right fit for you. Plus, they offer free shipping, and most items are shipped within 24 hours. If you're not sure which Ghost Bed is right for you, Check out their mattress quiz. You'll answer a few questions and get a personalized recommendation. Even better, our listeners will get 10% off for a limited time. Just visit ghostbed.com/Cox and use code Cox at the checkout. That's ghostbed.com/Cox and use code Cox for 10% off site-wide.
They have me in there for 3 weeks. And literally, I'm about to lose my mind in that first week that I'm in there because I'm in there by myself. I'm left with just me and my thoughts. And by about the 7th day, I conquered myself emotionally, mentally, and I just found peace in there. And I told myself in that moment, if I can find peace in this moment, if I can conquer myself in this moment, there is nothing that I cannot do in this life. And I held on to that. So they end up letting me out. 3 weeks later, they call me in. It's the feds again. Oh, sorry. You're telling the truth. My bad for the inconvenience we caused you. And I'm just happy to go back to general population at that point. So I don't give a damn. So they let me out. I go back out to general population. And then like a week or two later, I had called my dad. And he's like, your friend Gabby called. Gabby was the girl.
Yeah.
And she's home. She had made it through ICE and all this stuff. She's home, and here's the phone number, her cell phone number. She wants you to call her. So by this point, I had decided that I could not do that anymore because I knew it just wasn't in alignment for my life. And so I call her. And she's like, oh my gosh, she's telling me all about her life. She had heard that I had been in solitary confinement because, people talk, and she still had people, all the Hispanic community, they all were still in communication with each other. So we're talking about all that. She's telling me that she'd been going to Bible study and she's getting her life together. And so our time runs out. And I hang up the phone, and I just went in my cell, and I just cried because I knew I was about to break it off with her when I called her back. And we had always said that if anybody were going to be the one to break it off, it would have been her and not me. So I call her back, and I was like, I'm so glad that you've been going to Bible study, and, I've really been, like, trying to get my faith together, and I've been going to church, and I've been doing all these things. And I was like, and we cannot do this anymore. And she was like, Mommy, are you serious? And I was like, yes. I was like,
mommy.
Yeah. She was like, I said, I can't. I said, it's not right. It's not right for you. It's not right for me. Like, we just cannot do this anymore. Our lives are in 2 totally different places. And she was like, all I ask is one thing. She was like, if you mean it and you're serious when we hang up this phone, do not call me back. So we hung up, and that was it. So I'm spending out, the last probably 6 or 7 months, I think, at that point of my sentence, just preparing for release because I had a halfway house date coming up. That was December 17th, 2009. I was supposed to get out to the halfway house. So I'm waiting. I had read this book while I was in there called The Captivity Series. Have you ever heard of it? Mm-mm. Okay, so it's by this woman named Katie Souza. She was not very big back then. She's big now. And this book was about her life. And it was very similar to mine with the drug of choice, but she was like cooking it and all stuff that I never did. So, but it spoke to me. So I began to write a book in prison. And I would write down not just the book, but I was like writing down what I believed my life was going to look like when I got out, even down to getting custody of Madison back, like all of this stuff. So I go for this halfway house appointment. And I'm in there, and the counselor's like, I'm thinking I'm going in to sign my halfway house papers. And she was like, oh, we denied your halfway house time. And I was like, what? Why? And she was like, well, you have strong ties to the community. You don't need it. And I was like, what do you mean I have strong ties? I have no ties. I have burned every bridge. I know you have seen my file. I don't have a tie to the community. She's like, well, you have parents. You'll be okay. So I was devastated because now I'm supposed to be getting out in December, and now we're looking at February potentially that I'm going to get out. And, that's 2 more months. I'm ready to go. I've had enough of this crap. So I'm there longer, and the chaplain puts out a call sheet. And he's like, we got a guest speaker coming into the prison. So I sign up to go because I want to get out of the pod. So I go down there, and the guest speaker is Katie Souza. And she preaches this whole sermon, like the best sermon that I had ever experienced at that point. And she comes up to me afterwards and she says, God spoke to me about you. Listen, she says, you are going to get out, your life is going to take off, and you will never be back here again. And one day you will get your daughter back and she will never remember a day that you lost with her. I get out of prison.
You read my PSI.
No, I did not.
No, I'm saying that's how you're like,
no.
Stop it.
No, I believed it because I was really in that, like, I just had, when I believe in something, I have reckless faith in whatever it is, good or bad. And that is to my detriment, right? Because if it's bad, we're going. Like, we're just going all in. Whether it's, I'm either all in or I'm all out. And so I left there. I get out. I fly back. And my mom picks me up from the airport. They take me to the halfway house. I get in the halfway house. It's co-ed in Atlanta. Was y'all's halfway house co-ed?
Yeah.
Oh, it was, because you said that's how you met your wife.
Yeah.
It was the Wild West in there. You got all of these people horny because they're all just coming out of prison. You know, it was like, you know what it was like.
Yeah.
You've been there. So it was like online dating, but in person in the halfway house. So everybody's, you know, talking to each other. The halfway house director is trying to keep everybody like on their P's and Q's because he can't have scandal. And he was like this real flamboyant man. And like he had called me into his office one day because I was outside walking and it was the women's turn to walk, but the men were out there too. And he was mad at me about it. He called me in. He was like, Miss Rogers. So he calls me in his office. He was like, you're doing too much. He was like, don't be out here getting all distracted with these men that want to buy you a 10-piece dinner. He said, you need to be in front of the Fox and get you a winner. Talking about the Fox Theater. I will never forget him saying that. So.
What's a 10-piece dinner?
10-piece chicken wings.
Oh, geez. Okay.
That's what everybody was ordering. And that's what the guys were buying the girls. The 10-piece wings and fries. That's how they were like wooing the girls in the halfway house. So I'm back there. My dad had took me out. They gave me a move pass. We went out to dinner and I asked him to buy me a cell phone. Now, cell phones were illegal back then. You could not have them in the halfway house, but everybody had them. So I already knew they had already told me how to get it in, where to do the handoff, all this. So he buys me the cell phone. We get in there, and it's hidden up in the ceiling tiles, you know, like everybody's doing. So this company had put an ad out in the AJC for telemarketing. Well, remember I told you that I had done that in the height of my drug addiction, and I was good at it. So I answered
for all of 3 weeks.
I was there for months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was there for a couple months. So I answer this ad from this illegal cell phone I'm not supposed to have. Mm-hmm. They want me to come in for an in-person interview. So now I got to go convince Mr. Jones to approve the move to let me go to this interview. He's like, Miss Rogers, how did you get that interview? And I was like, I called from the pay phone. And he was like, mm-hmm. And so he approves the move. So I now am going out of this halfway house. I've got to ride the bus and the train and like Atlanta public transportation. Well, I had never done that before because they don't have that where I'm from. Like, if you don't have a car, you might ride the lawnmower like down the street. You know, it was like that type of environment. So I am like big city and it up right now. It was like the time of my life. First time I had ever experienced anything like that. So I'm on the train. I'm routing myself. I'm taking the buses. I'm on here with all these people. And I've just gotten out of prison. So not much would shock me at this point. So I go in for this interview. I obviously don't look or sound like I've just gotten out of prison. And they had never hired a woman in Atlanta before. And we're talking February 2010. So I go in. I'm sitting in the interview with this guy. He's clean cut, polished. The interview's going great. You know, I'm great energy. I know they're going to hire me. And I interrupt the interview. And I say, I just need to interrupt this interview because I want to be honest with you about who I am. And he was like, okay. And I say, just like this, because I'm fresh out of prison. So, you know, I'm institutionalized. I say, I just got out of a maximum security federal prison. I was a drug dealer and a drug addict, and I'm not that person anymore, but I'm going to make somebody a lot of money. Mic drop.
All right.
And I'm staring at him, and he's staring at me just like we're looking right now. And his mouth dropped, and he don't know what to say. Well, I damn sure don't know what to say, because I said what I had to say. I have laid my cards on the table. Now you have to decide if you're about to play this hand or not. Finally, he breaks the silence. He said, holy shit, I wasn't expecting that. And so he laughs, and then I laughed, and he was like, I need to speak with the owner of the company. And they ended up hiring me.
Yeah, half the guys in there have felonies.
Probably, yes. At that point, yes. Maybe 2 of them did. So they hire me. I start on February 22nd, 2010, which was my daughter's birthday. And I go in and I just crush it.
What are you selling?
Advertising. Golf course advertising. So if you've ever been on a golf course and you've seen ads on it, whether it's on the scorecard, the yardage book, the ball washers, the tee signs, that's us. That's what we did.
Right.
So I go in, I outsell the whole office month 1. I am just banging because I'm excited. I'm excited to be out. I'm excited to have an opportunity. And they're paying $2,400 a month base salary. Well, every amount that you hit in these quotas, they give you a raise. It's like $500, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000. I'm lighting it up. So $2,400 a month was the most legal money I had ever made. So I already feel like I'm rich off of that. And I go in that month and I sell $20,900 worth of print ads at $375 a pop. So that's how many ads I was selling a day. And so now I went from $2,400 a month, and they gave me an $1,800 raise. So I'm making $2,400 plus $1,800, and I'm only been out of prison 30 days. It's game on now. You can't tell me I'm unstoppable. So 6 months later, I am traveling the country, opening up offices for that company, training people on how to sell over the phone. So my probation officer cannot believe it. He is just beside himself because, number one, by this point, when I took that contract, now I'm making a $75,000 salary. 6 months later, they gave me $75,000 plus bonus for traveling the country doing this job. I'm making more money than he is probably. And he just cannot believe it. So he had wanted me to go to these drug classes when I got out. And I was like, listen, I don't need to go those classes. So I made an agreement with him. And I was like, let me take an evaluation. And if the evaluator says I don't need to go, I don't have to go. If she says I need to go, I'll go. He agreed because he just never would have believed that an evaluator would say that I didn't need to go to these classes. Well, sure enough, she says she does not need classes. There's nothing wrong with her. So he is just always just watching with a side eye. But he could do nothing because I'm passing the drug test. I'm doing all the things. My life is going up and up and up. I'm making more and more money. And so now I've been out for probably within the first year, I had filed a motion to try to see Madison because they're still not letting me communicate with her. And finally, they agree that they will let me see her. And my mom flies out there to get Madison and flies back with her. Well, I'm still very much institutionalized at this point. I can't remember fully how long I had been out, but it hadn't been a full year. And so, they had poisoned Madison against me in the worst way at this point. I mean, she hated me. She was disgusted with me. And it was the worst experience that I could have possibly imagined. And I ended up sending her back 2 weeks early. Well, or after 2 weeks. She was supposed to stay for 6. Well, after all of that, there were some things that started to come out that she was saying that were would make you pause about some of the things that she might be living in over there with the stepmom. So this went off and on for years where they would let me talk to her, then not let me talk to her. But in the midst of all of this, my life is still going wonderfully. So an opportunity presented itself that I could file for custody of Madison. And I honestly did not feel like I was ready to have her back, but it was everything that I ever had wanted. And so the door opened and I walked through it and I took every dollar that I had fighting custody of her and I won. And I won because the stepmother had an open child protective case against her with Madison because there were some things going on. Mm-hmm. And So I win this case. Madison had been staying with me at that point for 6 months. And when I went back and I told her that the judge decided that she was going to live with me, I mean, she just looked at me with the most disgusted look that a 7-year-old could muster. And she was like, oh, I cannot believe my dad let this happen. Well, her dad wasn't even very involved at that point because it was the stepmom that was raising her.
Right.
And I just had to go in my closet and cry because that is not how I imagined the reunification of my family looking like. And you know, and everything that I had done up to that point was for her. So I get her back. And for the first year and a half, I'm so patient in parenting her because I felt so guilty. We went to therapists. Therapists quit on us. They were like, we can't fix it. That's how bad it was. Like, when you have therapists that are quitting on you, they're like, there's no hope. You know, there is no hope. And so eventually I just shut down and I was parenting her from survival mode. Did you eat? Is your homework done? She would like hug me and I would like tense up because we just had no connection because she really hated me. So eventually time goes on and I open an all-star cheer gym, my dream. And I've got her in the gym and her life is great. And still she just hates me. So I ended up getting pregnant with my son. Madison was 12. And when I was pregnant with her, she was like, oh, I am going to have to raise this baby because my mom doesn't know how to be a mother.
What a little jerk.
And I'm like, I've been being a mother to her from 7 to 12 at that point, but it was because they had poisoned her. And every time she would go visit them, they were continuing to poison her, continuing to just say I was this terrible person and we're going to get you back and we're going to fight for you and this is all you have to do, and treat her like that. It was that type of dynamic going on. So when I have my son, she sees me being the mom that she never knew or was told that I didn't know how to be, that I never was to her. And so it started to like mess with her a little bit because she's like, this doesn't align with the narrative that I was given about who she is. And she's getting older. So now she's starting to have her own mind about things. So she started to come around a little bit and, you know, and she was like a little more open to me, right? But our backs were still against each other. So in the midst of all of that, Elijah's dad and I had separated in a very terrible situation. And I, at that moment, decided I was about to walk away from everything. I was walking away from him. I was walking away from this cheer gym because we had the gym jointly together, and he did fitness on one side. And I was leaving Benchcraft because I had been with him for 8.5 years. I was making over $200,000 a year, but I was miserable because they treat their employees terribly. Like, they would literally call you down and like cuss you out, like, you fucking piece of shit, you should have stayed on vacation, you're killing the whole company. Like, it was that type of environment every single day. And I'm like, look, I don't have to put up with this. Like, I know I'm good at what I do and I can go anywhere. So finally, the last straw for me was they had called down one day and that sales manager lit me up and cussed me out and told me what a piece of shit I was. And I'm like, dude, you wouldn't survive a day in the life that I have lived. And so that was it. I got an interview for this fintech company called Cabbage, which was financial technology. So they do loans. American Express owns them now. So I go into this interview. Well, now I've been out 8.5 years. So I'm polished. I'm corporate. I've got my shit together, right? And I'm like, I know my background's going to come up because it's financial. And so I'm like, shit, how am I going to tell these people I'm a convicted felon? So I just prayed about it before I went in there. I'm like, if this is meant for me, if this is where I'm supposed to go, just open the door so that I can tell my story in some way. Well, now I'm in my third and final interview with the founders of this company. And I'm sitting with this woman who is known for pioneering fintech for women. Her name is Catherine Petralia, and it's a culture fit interview. She wants to know if I'm an asshole. So they ask you all these crazy questions to see how you're going to react or respond. Well, we never got into any of that because the third thing that she asked me was, if there is one mistake that you regret in your life, what is it and why? So she opened the door and I walked through. I started at 13 years old and I told her my entire life story and I left nothing out. And she is sitting in front of me, a woman that has never experienced a moment of anything like this. And she's sitting in front of me and she's leaned in and she's eating her snack. She was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm watching a Lifetime movie. I can't wait till you get to the part where you're sitting in front of me today. So once I got done, she sat her paperwork down. She squared her shoulders. She said, I don't have any more questions. When can you start? And she was like, and can you pass a background check? I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know because it's federal. So maybe, maybe not. It depends on how extensive you run it. So, or what system you use. So they hire me. I start there. Well, I call Benchcraft and I tell the owner, who was like an advocate supporter of mine, you know, that I had found this other company and I was so thankful for, you know, the time that he had given me and the experiences and everything that I had learned. And he was so mad at me that I was leaving. He cussed me out. He insulted me and he hung the phone up. And I was so hurt by that because I'm like, I've made you millions, maybe even billions of dollars at this point out of my office alone because I was managing that office at this point. I had taken over the whole like Southeast. And so I leave there and I reach out to the halfway house and they already knew who I was because I was hiring people at Benchcraft from there at that point. And I was like, listen, I would love to volunteer some of my time there and come and like, you know, sit with the women, help them on how to interview or whatever. I've got a 2-week window. And the lady was like, well, actually, we have a panel coming up on Tuesday and we need another speaker. Can you come? So I was like, yes, I'll come. I didn't even know what the panel was about. I had no clue. I just said yes. So I go and I sit on this panel and it was like, and the name of the discussion was, when will the sentence end? So I'm sitting up here with 2 other men that had been to federal or state prison. And we get done and the lady comes up to me afterwards and her name is Dr. Danielle Wiley. And she was like, I've been looking for a woman speaker for a long time. Would you be willing to speak with the Department of Justice? And I was like, yes, I would, as a matter of fact. And so I'm thinking I'm volunteering my time for free because I just had a passion for it. I wanted to help people come through what I had made it through at that point. So they ended up getting funding for it. So they were paying me, and not a lot, but just a little bit of money. And I was going and I was speaking at these housing authorities. Governor Nathan Deal I spoke with, you know, all of these employment agencies because I look like I look and I sound like I sound. And it's easier for people to swallow the idea of hiring a convicted felon when they see me.
Right.
And so I was able to stand up in front of all these different, you know, communities of people and create some change in prison reform in Georgia. So now I'm at Cabbage. I excelled very quickly there. And I'm broke because I left Benchcraft of $200,000 a year and I went to a $32,000 a year salary and I have a $200,000 a year lifestyle. But I knew that I was good at what I did and that I was going to be fine. So I go in and they're giving me all these opportunities to make money, like $20 on Amazon gift card for every positive Google review you did. So my quota that month was $1.47 million in loans closed. Because basically my job was people would qualify for a loan and they didn't pull the money. So I would call them and talk them into pulling the funds. Well, I came from cold calling, golf course advertising, something that didn't even work, getting their credit card on a one-time call, like close, to warm leads. And it was a business and all I had to do was convince them to use the money. Like, oh, game over. I sold the whole company, my month one, at $2.2 million in loans closed. And so the next month, I'm like bored. Because I'd already hit my quota, I'd already worked my pipeline, and I was like, have y'all ever tried to cold call? And they're like, yeah, it doesn't work. And I was like, let me try. And they're like, well, you can try it, but it doesn't work. And I was like, okay, well, let me try it. Pull up a random list, call a construction company owner off that list, same way we would find leads for advertising, pitch him Cabbage, get him to apply for the loan. He qualifies on the phone, and he pulls the line. And they're like, holy shit, how did you do that? And I said, I told you, this is all I've ever legally done. I'm good at what I do. So after that, they come to me and they're like, we have a deal. We're going to pay you $500 for every deal that you close. You got to still hit your quota. You don't even have to get them to pull the money. You just have to get them to qualify. And it's people that we've mail dropped to, but we've never communicated. I was like, oh, say less. You're going to take this deal back from me. I ate them up for $10,000 that month. Plus, I hit my quota. So it was like any way that I could, I'm hustling my way out of this hole. And I literally just took the hustle mentality from the streets, and I've created a way to do it legally. So I end up getting promoted there a couple of times very quickly. And I'm on their leadership team. I'm managing these 2 sales teams, and everything is great, but I'm so bored. And I'm so bored because I know that I am called to prison reform in some way, because there is no way that I could have made it through all of this stuff just to let it end there and not help people or give back or in some way. And so I go home this weekend and I start brainstorming. What is it? How have I made money? And it was all cold call sales, all of it. And my largest knowledge in it was print advertising. And where is my passion? And it was women in prison. And so I married all that together, and I came up with my first company, National Association of Women's Prison Reform. And it was going to be a call center, and we were going to sell advertising like Benchcraft, but for real estate instead of golf course, because they had a real estate division and they shut it down when the real estate crash happened. They never opened it back up. So I have this great idea, but I know I'm going to need money to fund it, right? And I'm like, it's going to take some serious money to do this right. And so then I start thinking about, okay, what are my other options? Well, I went and I put a one-on-one meeting with Catherine Petralia, the founder of Cabbage. And I was like, listen, I'm starting this company, and I just wanted to know, is there any advice that you could give me? And she was like, oh my gosh, Jennifer. She was like, you do not need advice from me. You have overcome more things in your life than I could ever even think about overcoming. But if there's anything that I can do to help you, please let me know.
There happens to be a problem with funding at the moment.
Well, so I left it there, right? So then I start thinking about the whole cold calling thing, because in the midst of all of that, they believed then that it would work. So they built out a team. It failed again. Then they hired this company to do it. They outsourced it, and they were paying major money to this company. Well, I was supposed to be managing that. They ended up giving it to this other guy who was like my counterpart, and he and I couldn't stand each other. And it flopped. And I knew it was going to flop when I saw the projections, because he had never done cold calling before. And I let it fail because it should have been mine, but you gave it to him, so y'all can figure that out. So now I'm thinking, okay, y'all believed that this would work because of me. So why don't I deserve the contract?
Right.
So I go back to her. Well, first I go to my sales manager, and I pitch it to him. And he was like, well, you would need Salesforce and all this, and that's very expensive. And I was like, well, why couldn't we use y'all's Salesforce and just limit our views, what we can see, because there is, security and information and PII and all that you're dealing with. So then I went over his head, and I went back to Catherine, and I pitched it to her. And I was like, listen, y'all have outsourced this 3 times, and you've tried it in-house twice, and the only reason that you believed it would work is because of me. And before I could even ask, she said, yes, we'll give you a contract. So I'm in legal negotiation at this point with their lawyers, and their head lawyer, she's like this tall and mean as a rattlesnake. And she was pissed that they're hiring me, because all I'm going to hire is convicted felon women, and they know it. And she was like, I think that this is great and all. And I said, no, you don't. You do not think it's great. And I said, and it's okay, because you don't have to think that it's great, because I know that you have an issue with the fact that we're hiring convicted felons, which, by the way, I am one. And I said, but at the end of the day, Catherine Petralia has said that this is something that we're going to do. So the faster that we can get through all this red tape and come to an agreement, the better off we all will be. It took 6 months for us to get that contract off the ground and going. We get it off the ground, absolutely murdered it. And I've got an office, and in the Cabbage room, I start with 2 girls, fresh out of prison, 1 federal, 1 state, and we're killing the quota. Just killing it. So then I bring in a 3rd, then I bring in a 4th. Now I start in a 2nd room, and the 2nd room, because now I got funding coming through. They're paying my company $30,000 a month for this contract. And if we hit our number, we get more money on the top. So now I've got enough money coming out, I can fund the advertising side. So now I've got the advertising side going. This company is projected to do $1 million in year 1. And we're just sailing. I've got all this stuff going on. I'm doing public speaking engagements with the Department of Justice. There's all this traction. There's all this motion. And COVID happens and shuts us down.
Yeah.
COVID happens and shuts us down. And now I am a stay-at-home mom with 2 kids that I realized I did not know between the hours of 8 and 5.
Right.
And I've got this failing company that I'm trying to figure out, how am I going to save it? And I've got these bills and I've got these women and their lives are depending on me and I don't know what the hell to do. And so I start to brainstorm and I'm like, okay, we lose the cabbage contract. So we lose our funding source because they didn't secure funding for the year. And so they're cutting off everything like everybody else in the world. Mm-hmm. So I brainstorm and I come up with the idea that we're about to become a national real estate advertising company because I knew that it was successful.
In the middle of COVID?
In the middle of COVID. We're calling real estate agents and they're answering because the whole country is shut down. Mm-hmm. And because they're answering, we're getting these real estate agent contracts that otherwise we would not get. So I'm building out this idea of we're about to go national real estate advertising. So basically what it is it's a 6x9 mailer card. We EDDM it, so we direct mail it. The real estate agent is on the front of the card. The card is free to them. On the back of it, we put 15 ads on it. And it's people that want to affiliate with a real estate agent. Contractors, landscaping, anything, contractors, mm-hmm. right? And so we cold call the contractors. You're going to be in the direct referral partner of this real estate agent for any closing they have. They're going to refer you directly. This is what their book of business looks like. They're buying it because it's cheap. They're only paying $5.95 for the ad for an entire year, a one-time fee. The agent gets it for free. They're mailing it out. It's a win-win. So we come back with 60 new contracts in July after the COVID shutdown, when they start opening things back up a little bit in Georgia. So we're back in July. I've hired all these new women. We're opening up as this national advertising company. We start back after July 4th. On Saturday morning, Madison wakes up sick, my daughter. And she comes in my room and she's like, Mom, I'm sick. I don't feel good. And I'm like, Madison, just go take something and lay down, because at this point she's a hypochondriac and she's also been taking me through wreckage. She's been getting drunk. The police have been calling.
How old is she?
She's 16 at the time. So for about the last 2 years, I had been dealing with nonstop chaos out of her. And she was headed down the path that I had been on. And I
like your mom's daughter.
It. Yes, like my mom's daughter. So she wakes up and she's sick, and, I'm thinking nothing. She's just sick. So her friend texts my phone, because her friend had spent the night that night, and she said, Madison just projectile threw up over in her room. I'm on FaceTime with my mom at the time. So I walk in there, and this is the first time I've laid eyes on her since she had told me she was sick. She looks really bad. She's laying in the floor, and I was like, what's wrong? And she was like, it's my head, it's my neck. And it's like, I got the worst headache of my life. So I'm going down the questions. Are you pregnant? Did you get drunk? Or have you done drugs? Because if we go to the emergency room, I'm going to find these 3 things out. So if any of these could potentially be the case, go ahead and tell me now, so I'm not surprised when we get to the hospital. No, Mom, I swear. So we go to the hospital, me, her, and my son, in the middle of still COVID issue. Hospital, they're out of their mind because I've brought my son with me. And I'm like, look, his dad is working. I'm a single mom. He has to be here. So they take us back. They think it's meningitis. I thought it was meningitis, which is why I took her, because I had Googled her symptoms. So they rush her back for a CAT scan. They pre-treat her with 1 round of meningitis. The doctor comes back. My mom had come and pick Elijah up, and he looked like he had seen a ghost. I mean, just pale. And he says, your daughter has a ruptured brain aneurysm. We're going to transfer her to Emory Neuro ICU immediately. I was on FaceTime with my mom and my sister at the time, and my sister's a nurse practitioner, and so she knew. I knew that it was brain. I knew that it was bad, but I had no idea what that really meant.
I don't either. What does that really mean?
her brain was bleeding.
Okay,
She had
they
a
have to drain it or something?
No,
or-
so basically you die from this. Like, it's not good. 1 in 3 people with the type of aneurysm that she has dies before they ever make it to the hospital. So essentially what it means is you have a vessel in your brain, and instead of the blood flowing like it should, it's become restricted, and so it grows
popped.
and it grows and it pops. And so she had a brain bleed on her frontal lobe in her brain. So I get to Emory Neuro ICU. They're trying not to let me come up on the floor because it's COVID. And Phi pitched the biggest fit they've ever seen. So they finally let me come up there. I mean, she's got a drain coming out of the top of her head. They had to drill down into her head that night. And it did not look good. It looked like she was not going to survive. And so she's got, lines coming out of her neck and her arms and her drain in her head. And she just looks terrible. And so, at this point, I'm pretty big in the prison reform community. People know who I am. My name is out there. It's Pray for Maddie, Maddie Strong everywhere. This hashtag is trending all over social media. I mean, we have people in Israel praying, to the God that they believe in. Like, it was a pretty big thing at that time. So the third night that she's in there, they come in and they tell me she's showing signs of a stroke. And I'm sleeping in this little room off of her room, and there's no bathroom in there. It's just this little couch thing, this little sink, and that's it. So they come in there and they say she's showing signs of a stroke. Well, if she would have had a stroke, it would have killed her, or she would have been a vegetable for the rest of her life. So I go out there and she's tremoring, she's slurring. They rush her out for the CAT scan. I go in that room and I slam that door and I scream at God, the universe, as loud as I can. Why are you doing this? I've had enough. They bring her back. 45 minutes later, she's totally normal for where we were in that moment. Still ruptured brain aneurysm, no signs of a stroke. I'm sitting there, she's holding my hand, and she asked me, was she going to die? And I could not honestly say no. And of course I said no, but I didn't even believe the no that I was saying to her because it looked like she was going to die. And so I FaceTime Mom. It was like 4:00 in the morning at this point, and I'm just crying. And I said, if she dies in this hospital bed before I ever got the chance to really know her, I will with her. And my mom was like, you can't. You have to get it together. You have another kid you have to live for. She needs you to be strong right now. And so in the midst of all that, the hospital is denying me access to a shower and a bathroom because of COVID. And they're like, if you want to wash up, you can wash up in the sink. So I have a full knockdown, drag out, blow up with the director of that hospital director in the room with Madison because they will not let me take a shower or use a private bathroom. And so I get on social media, I blast it, I write an email to the CEO of the hospital. I had the private bathroom in the shower the next morning. So every night now that I can get outside of that room, I'm going and I'm just sitting in the chapel and I'm just talking to God. Like, please, don't let this be the end of her. And for 6 weeks, she and I were in there and our walls were down and it was very raw emotionally. And we would have a good moment and then we'd go back 10 steps. You just, from moment to moment, you didn't know whether she was going to survive or not. But I knew this cannot be just her brain. This has to be something bigger than this. There has to be a meaning in this, right? Our relationship was so broken. No one could fix it. And when we walked out of there at 6 weeks, it was as if I had never spent a day apart from her. Our relationship was fixed because it took something so severe, so significant that she and I could see each other in that moment and nothing else mattered. And my son was away. So he's with his dad because they can't come in and visit. Mm-hmm. And so it's just me and her. And so we walk out of there and our entire relationship was changed in that moment. So we get out, we come home. My son is in total terror because he's never been away from me for that amount of time. He's 4. So if I leave the room, he has a full-blown screaming, crying meltdown because he's just afraid that I'm just going to disappear and not come back. So it's just all this stress and all this chaos going on at this time. And one day he just loses his mind because I had went into the bathroom and finally I just snapped. I just lost. I was like, stop it. Stop it. I am right here. I am not going anywhere because I'm scared to death of her just dying at some point. He's losing his mind to sleep. We have to put our cat to sleep. It was all this. So I've got this company, that I'm holding on to through all of this. It's a brand new company that I've just started back. I'm running it from the hospital. I've got all these customers calling me, complaining. I can't shut it down because I don't want to, these women to have nowhere to go because I really believed in what I was doing. So I get out, I go back to the company, life goes back to kind of normal-ish, and I end up meeting this guy, and it was all the fun that I needed in that moment because my life had been in such disarray, and I end up getting pregnant. Like 4 months, 5 months into it. And we had...
Just happened. It was an accident?
It was an accident. It wasn't on purpose.
These accidents keep happening.
Yes. Listen, my son got here from a busted condom. Literally. I had never had unprotected sex with his dad, and a broken condom, and I was pregnant with him. So it was an accident. He and I aren't even together anymore. It was not a good situation. So I find out I'm pregnant. I let him know. It's just chaos and upheaval in this whole situation. I decide I'm going to keep the baby regardless. He can just go on. I'll just keep the baby because I wanted another child and I wanted another son specifically. So I find out that it's a boy, and I'm just decided that I'm going to raise this child and it'll just be me and the kids, and it's fine. It's fine. I've been doing all this by myself. No big deal. So I go to a doctor's appointment. I'm 13 weeks pregnant, and I find out that the baby has died. And that situation blew the lid off the emotional vault where I had stuffed everything for 37 years and never allowed myself to feel it because I was very good at detachment. And I call the doctor, and she's like, you can come in for a DNC, but we cannot get you in for 3 weeks.
Oh, Jesus.
And she's like, or I can prescribe you a pill, and you can take this, and it will cause your body to get rid of it. So I get Madison off to prom, and I go home, and I take this medication by myself, and I miscarry the child the next day. And, of course, it comes out, looking like this little baby, and I started to hemorrhage. And I called the doctor on call, and I said, and I tell her what's going on. She says, it sounds like you're hemorrhaging. You should probably come in. I can prescribe you something, but it might not stop. So I drive myself to the hospital. I get there, I step out, and it was like someone took a 5-gallon bucket of blood and just dumped it on the ground. And they put me in a wheelchair, and they wheel me in, and they put this mask on me because we're still COVID-ish. And the moment they put that mask on me, my blood pressure tanks, my heart rate skyrockets. I start throwing up on myself. I'm losing functioning of my body. They think they're going to have to give me a blood transfusion. It was all this chaotic stuff going on. And it was in that moment that I had to ask myself, if I were to die in this moment, if this was just it, did I know who I was? And the answer was no. I knew that I had impacted a lot of lives in a positive way. I knew that I would have plenty of people at my funeral, especially in prison reform, saying Jennifer Rogers has done great things in our lives. Because I was involved in prison ministry. I was doing this Christmas thing every year for the women and their kids in this women's prison. I mean, I was very active in the prison reform community. But I couldn't tell you what I enjoyed in life. I couldn't tell you anything about myself if my career or my story wasn't involved. And it was in that moment that I made a decision that I was about to walk away from everything again. And so they end up doing an emergency DNC. Mom comes in, and then she drives me home, and I was on bed rest that week. And I decided in that moment that I was going to walk away from everything that I had done, all my accomplishments, all my success, and I was going to find who is Jennifer Rogers. Without the accolades, without the businesses, without the title, who am I? And I decided that I was going to go do a spiritual journey. And so I reach out to a woman that I know that does them, and I said, I need to go on a spiritual journey. I don't even know what this means. I don't know what I'm signing up for, but I know I'm so desperate for something, right?
Is this a Korea thing?
No,
Oh, okay.
no. And this was like 4.5 years ago. And what I was looking for, I couldn't find it in the church anymore. I needed to know, was God good? Like, I really wanted to know that. I wanted to know, what is God? Like, I had questions, right? I just couldn't fall in line anymore because it's just what you're taught to believe. And so I went on this mission of not to just find me, but to find like God and the God in me. So I go and I do this. First, I did an inner child alchemy therapy healing session with a hypnotherapist. And she walked me into some childhood memories that I had and helped me like call my child self back out and sit with my child self and heal those things. And so in this spiritual journey, we go and we're wearing all white and we're taking plant medicine, psilocybin plant medicine. It's mushrooms.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, is this like peyote? Was it peyote?
Peyote,
Is that what they call it?
ayahuasca, you know,
Yeah.
it's in line with that. So I have no idea what I'm signing up for. All I know is I am so desperate to not feel like I'm drowning in my own grief for just a moment that I needed something. So I go on the spiritual journey. It was the most beautiful thing that I had ever experienced in my life. And I come out, and now I am just on this mission that I just want to help the world heal. And not just prison reform, but just period. Because I sat with a part of myself that I never knew existed. And so I'm continuing to move forward. And Carly's dad and I end up getting pregnant again. And I lose another baby because we had gotten back together. And now I'm obsessing. I feel like that I literally can't have children anymore because I've lost these two babies, and like I'm obsessing over it, and I'm thinking something's wrong with me, and I'm doing all these things, and I'm still on these spiritual journeys, and I'm still healing parts of myself that I didn't know were broken, and I'm diving into like childhood traumas and ancestral traumas and all this stuff, and I'm sitting in all this stuff, and I'm doing all this work, but I have this thing that I'm hung up on, right? And so I go and I do this session with Free, and it's Hop A. And so Hop A, it's like this sacred indigenous tobacco, and they blow it up your nose, and it forces you to release whatever it is that you're holding on to. And so I go and I do this, and before she blew it up my first nostril, she said, "You have got to let your obsession over this baby go. There is nothing wrong with you. It is just not your time." And she blew that nostril, and I felt like I was choking. I couldn't breathe. I was, and she's like, "You have to let this go." And so I finally breathed. And when I let it go, I just threw up, and I threw up, and I threw up. And it was throwing up all of that anxiety and all of that stuff that I was carrying that was never mine to carry. And then right after that, I found out I was pregnant with Carly, my youngest. So I have a home birth. It's a beautiful thing. I'm on this holistic healing route. I go and I do a journey in Florida. And in this journey, I had done a lot of healing in myself. And so in this journey, I wanted to know, who is God? I wanted to know, is God good? I wanted to know. And so in that journey, I sat in the presence of light, of God, of myself, of my highest self. And for the first time in my entire life, I knew at 39 years old that I was a good person. That no matter what I had done, no matter what I had been through, no matter what pain had been caused, that none of that mattered, that I really was good, that I was a marvelous person. And when I left that journey, I knew that if I could just bottle that up and give it to every single person that I ever experienced that I know is broken. Because when you've been broken, you can look at someone and see broken. You just recognize it. And so I went on a mission after that, and I got certified to be able to legally administer plant medicine and take people on journeys and help people heal. And that is who Jennifer Rogers is today.
Are you still doing
No, the prison reform stuff, I'm not doing
No.
it. I mean,
Is it still up and running?
Yes and no. So it's up. I still have it. I don't have employees. I do still do public speaking in prisons. So
Okay.
some of the prisons will reach out to me privately, and I will go in and speak inside of the prisons. And then I have people reaching out to me all the time that have seen my story. So I'm on a podcast in the prisons, the Day One podcast with Andre Norman. And it's through on all the tablets in every prison in the United States that has a tablet. It's on there. So I always get emails from these inmates that believe that I can like fix their situation.
Yeah.
You know, because they're so inspired by my story. And I'm like, listen, I'd love to help, but that is not my lane. Like, I don't know how to help you do that. And so today, I do still speak in federal prisons. I have written and published a book. It is called The You Within, and it's about finding the you within. After all the crap you've been through in your life, like, who are you really? And I have a business also called Fill Your Cup. And Fill Your Cup is about just what it sounds like. We all walk around every single day and we're pouring from an empty cup. And what people don't realize is no matter how much you pour into that cup, if your cup is cracked, if you're walking around with trauma, with brokenness, whether it be from childhood, from your parents, from a relationship, whatever it is, we all have experienced trauma. And if you're just walking around carrying that and you've never sat in it and you've never put it down, no matter how much you continue to pour, that's just seeping out and it's never full. So I created this company. I do spiritual life coaching. I do one-on-one business coaching. I offer retreats and I offer one-on-one spiritual journeys. And I help people get past all the crap that they've been through to find who they really are within, so they can change their lives.
Hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos like this, and please share this video to anybody you think might be interested. Also, please go into the description box. We're going to leave all of Jennifer's links so that you can go buy her book or if you want to get in touch with her or support her in some way. All those links will be in the description box. Please feel free to click on those. And thank you very much for watching the video. Thank you. See ya.